are both happy to be here. This is day 3 of the European Youth Chess Championship, and the games have become more intense, as we saw yesterday some really interesting games, some cool tactics. Now we can see in the images the beginning of the games. We will have a look around 10 minutes of what's happening on the boards, but for now we can see the atmosphere. The players are starting, they're trying to remember their opening preparation, and yes, some of them already have really tough opponents. Round 3 is already deciding, okay, this guy is trying to steal some pawns, but okay, this is against the rules. But in general, people are professional chess players here, even though the ages are between 8 and 18. Everybody is into the fair play rules, and yeah, the chess we saw was brilliant.
We saw some very interesting games yesterday, day 2 here at Mamaia, the European Youth Chess Championship, and we're going to watch 2 of our favorite games from yesterday. I think we were absolutely fascinated by at least one of them, and we have one, I would say surprise, I don't even know how to call it.
An upset, I think they call it an upset in chess, when the underdog manages to actually defeat the higher rated player. This is statistically unlikely to happen, but the first game we want to show you is a game from the Open 18 category that happened yesterday between Ștefan Prisacaru and Rozen Eitan. It started off as a quiet Queen's Gambit declined. Some pieces were exchanged, but at some point we were really happy to see an amazing tactic, and it happened right around move 20, where Black has started the kingside attack, and here...
Let's pause for a second.
Yeah, here is the critical moment, where Black decided that the rook on e7 is worth sacrificing for these 2 pawns, and the point is that once the knight gets into the game, White's king is weak, and checkmate will appear on the board. This is the final position. White resigned, and if it were to take the queen, then knight f3 is just checkmate on the board, and there are no other moves really, and White had to resign. But this tactic with rook e5 made us really invested in this game, and yeah, we
were really amazed. I think it was a fabulous move.
Yeah, sacrificing a rook, usually you do it for a knight or a bishop, but this position is a rook for just 2 pawns, and we were wondering if Eitan managed to calculate all the variations, but yeah, we concluded that it was an intuitive sacrifice, because you cannot really figure out everything that's happening in this position through calculation alone. So that makes it even more impressive that he took a risk. He was the higher rated player, but at the same time he felt that the kingside attack is strong enough for a rook. So that was the most amazing tactic we saw yesterday.
We have some more interesting tactics. I know you have a surprise for everyone at home watching us.
Yeah, for those of you, we got some messages that you are interested in tactics and improving, and here we have for you the puzzle of the day. I think you can see the board right now. This is a mate in 2 situation. You can pause the video, take a screenshot of this position. We want to thank our very own international master Vladimir Doncha for suggesting this puzzle. It's quite tricky, so don't expect it to be so easy, even though it's checkmate in 2 moves. But if anyone manages to find a solution, you can write us in the comments, and yeah, we're curious to see what you think about this. Maria tried to solve it yesterday, and
so before that, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So please feel free to send us the answers. We're really curious about how you guys are doing and how long it takes you to do it. And I was just deflecting your question.
Yeah,
basically.
I know you're trying to solve it. I quit even before seeing the position, because I know checkmate in 2 moves is not my favorite thing to do. This is in the study realm of chess. There's also chess solving competitions with different ELOs. If any of you are interested in that, you can have a look. It's still chess, but it's in the problem solving side of things.
Once again, big shout out to Vladimir Doncha. We're really happy to share more of his work and of his puzzles as soon as possible, we hope.
Yeah, maybe he's gonna write the puzzle of the day section for us. So
I would love that.
he's definitely in the comment section. So we send him a big salute. And yeah, we can look at another game from yesterday. It was girls under 14, where we saw an interesting game between Or Shatil and Andriesh Alexia. We were looking at this moment actually, where Black manages to win a pawn, and we are trying to figure out if there is a catch behind it. This is the position where Black decided to capture on e4, and after capturing, we noticed that this pawn on b6 is attacked twice and defended only once by the queen. But there is a slight tactic that was also interesting to find. After bishop b6, there was bishop takes h4. Now the queen is overloaded. You cannot capture on h4 because your bishop will fall on b6. And that was pretty much the reason why I decided not to take on b6. She went g5, and the attack is still going on for white. There is some compensation, but Black manages to play really, really well, getting rid of the danger and yeah, picking up some more pawns. And Alexia decided to swap the queens, I guess, and then the position was easy to win. And this was the biggest upset in the girls under 14 category. And yeah, she's a player from Romania, so we're definitely happy to see Romanian players doing well, but also the level of chess was really good. And yeah, I think that was all from yesterday. Or actually,
I think we had one more.
Yeah,
that
I remember one more game
that we wanted to show you, because it was quite interesting to see it live, of one of the players, I think #1 rated under 16.
Yeah, it was Axel Valoy.
Axel?
We had him in the
studio as well.
Yeah, international master Axel Valoy. He had a really interesting game. I'm just gonna start from the beginning to see. He went for a couple of pawn sacrifices. It was thematic French defense variation, and things were going normal, but then Axel decided to sacrifice the first pawn with f5, then he swapped the knight, bringing the rooks, and he decided to go for straight attack in the center. But here Black got a pawn on a2, and we were wondering if Black is in time to get back with the queen for the defense, and actually Black was in time for this plan. The queen is back, the king is out of trouble. But we are surprised that after the endgame started, Axel was still a pawn down, but he manages to win this position, which shows his incredible endgame technique, and I think his ambition to win. He's favorite #1, and we know the pressure is on him. He was telling us that he feels the pressure, but he's handling it really, really well. And yeah, it wasn't so easy for him to win this endgame. Actually, Black here decided not to repeat moves, which is also a sign that shows that the position could have been drawn, but Black decided to play on. And I think this was a mistake when Black played queen to f6, allowing this trade and the famous double pawns that appear in this endgame. Here, there's no benefit to having double pawns. Even though you swap the queens off, you will struggle with defending these pawns. And actually, after just a couple of moves, this pawn on f4 was falling. And yeah, the endgame now is slightly better for white, but Axel decided to keep going, didn't go for a draw, and eventually he won the game.
Which is quite impressive, I might add. He had some interesting and difficult games. He's #1 rated in his category, and I'm curious how this is going to further motivate him.
Yeah, it feels like he didn't have easy games for the first 2 rounds, but it also shows that he's here to play until the very end. And I could say his shape is really good. Turning around this kind of game, it's not so easy. Both from
it's quite impressive.
Psychological standpoint. We'll see if this affects his games from today. And yeah, that was open under 16 category.
A bit of just for everyone watching us, what we're going to be doing today is more or less on par with how we presented the games in the first 2 days. So we're starting with the first 3 boards in all categories. We're starting with 8 years, and then we're slowly progressing until 18. So this is what you can expect, and definitely you can let us know in the comments if there's any game in particular that you want us to, well, dive more deep into, basically.
Yeah, if you have any favorites and if they're playing on a live board, we can definitely check their game and keep you updated on the situation that's happening in the games. And shall we go straight to girls number 8?
I would say so, because
girls
it's
under 8.
always a very interesting category. Things tend to sometimes move really fast, so the pace is more fast, I would say. There might be some interesting, well, checkmates. We've seen that.
Yeah, we had that in first round.
First day, a mate in 10. It could have been 9, actually.
Yeah, it could have been 9,
but
but
it was still quite impressive, and it's quite a show to see that as well. And as we progress more towards the 18 category, we definitely see a more complexity, but it's still great to see chess in any way, shape, or form.
yeah, even a checkmate in 10 moves is still part of chess. We know that the fastest checkmate is only 3 moves, so still away from the fastest checkmate. But yeah, I think definitely White had the lesson there, and it won't repeat ever again. So you need
You
this
never
kind
know.
Yeah,
you never know, but definitely.
we also
it's
saw
something.
yesterday someone going for the scholar's mate, which was
Yes, we
really brave, and we are happy to see that. And yeah, we can
It's
go.
always good for the show, and ultimately we're here to present you a diverse set of games, and I'm sure that you can also get a lot of well, lessons as well. And as we progress, you can by now, I would say, tell that Cal here has a lot of great life lessons as well. So just stay tuned.
Many life lessons. Just play the Caro-Kann and hope for the best. That's basically all I know.
Let's progress to our first category today, Girls 8. We have 3 Romanian players playing the first 6 tables, but we're going to start with board number 1.
Okay, is this Camille Below against Brit Fire?
Yes, and Camille Below is rated number 1 in this category with a rating of 1,357. She's playing white.
Okay, we only got 3 moves, but there's still things to discuss about this position. We are in the realm of the modern defense. For those of you who are wondering, if the knight is on f6, we're entering the Pirc defense. If the knight stays on g8, we are still in the realm of modern defense. These 2 openings can transition, but for now the knight in g8 is protecting this h6 square, and the point is that sometimes white goes bishop to e3, queen to d2, trying to exchange this bishop on g7, and delaying the development of this knight actually makes sense here, because bishop h6 would not be an option. So that's one part of the strategy for this Pirc defense. And also we need to talk about this bishop on c8. Even though it feels like the position is not closed yet, oftentimes people go bishop g4 to trade it for the knight, and then try to block the position, or even open up this bishop on g7. So these are the strategies for the black pieces, and usually white tries to control the center, playing like bishop e2, short castle, or going more adventurous with long castle and things like h4, h5, attacking this hook on g6. So we're probably going to see later how this game develops, but for now, this is the first Pirc defense we are seeing in this category. We were used to just seeing the normal e4, e5 lines with the bishop opening, the Rui Lopez, the Scotch. So seeing this modern defense in round 3 already means that the games have diversified a bit. And yeah, I'm curious to see if white goes for the attacking approach or the more strategical one with something like h3. I know you played the Pirc defense.
Pirc defense, yes, I did.
What was the most annoying setup for white? Let's say one you had a hard time facing when you were employing this Pirc defense.
Well, it's a more defensive type of opening.
Yeah.
So facing attacks that are really good sustained, I would say, I don't know, would pose
tough
the
to-
most hardships, probably.
Yeah, even the simple plan with going h4, h5. Okay, not really with a knight on f3. Usually they go pawn f3 to support this
Exactly.
g4, h5. It feels like a simple plan, but it's not so easy to counter it. If you go h5, then this square on g5.
Yeah, it can be
gonna
quite uncomfortable for
Yeah,
black. However, I think this is one of the first openings that I learned. The reasoning behind it, at least at that time, at my age, was to have something solid, to learn something solid,
Okay.
to have something solid in place, and then to be able to just move from there. And I think now that I'm, well, more experienced, I wanted to say older, but you know,
Yeah, it's
let's not go with that necessarily. Let's not
more
go there.
chess wisdom.
Exactly, more experienced. I think it's quite interesting psychologically as well. You know, when you start with an opening where you know you need to struggle a bit,
Okay.
it can be quite quite thrilling to go in the middle game where you can see that you can finally develop your pieces a bit.
Okay. You tend to appreciate more when you are actually making a breakthrough,
Exactly.
like swapping a piece. Okay, that's a
Exactly.
really good point. So when we're playing openings where we're lacking space, this moment of breakthrough, even if it happens at move 20, it's like such a relief that we get to appreciate just this small moment of.
And I think it really mattered in terms of how I played.
Okay, so it shaped your whole playing style,
Exactly.
employing this big defense. That's interesting. And another thing I want to point out here is that the black's ideas are also linked to this queenside expansion. So you might go c6, b5, even b4, and even if it seems harmless in an endgame, this queenside expansion actually tends to be decisive. So yeah, I oftentimes was facing this big defense, and it wasn't so easy for me to navigate the endgames. When the queens were on the board, it was clear to me that I had to face the king, I had to push my pawns, but once the queens were off, I felt like endgames were particularly unpleasant. So definitely an opening that people can try, and you definitely learn some skills. You learn to play
Yes.
without the space advantage. You learn how to maneuver maybe when there's not that many squares. You need to find the optimal choices for your pieces. So yeah, it's a good option for an improving player who's trying to explore more openings. So
Also improving, I would say, against an attack, because it can be an opening where you get attacked a lot. And
yeah, that's true. And
I think it's really important to know how to attack, but also to know how to, well, defend yourself when time comes.
yeah, that's a really good point, because oftentimes we see people getting attacked and they just panic. They enter panic mode and they stop finding good moves. They just maybe try to sacrifice to get rid of the attack and so on. But actually keeping this calm approach, saying, okay, I know how to defend. I have my bishop on g7. I have a bunch of pawns. Let's keep it calm and try to find easy solutions. It's a good skill that can be transferred to other chess openings. So that's really.
I thought you'd say to life. I
To
would
life,
have
yeah.
agreed on that as well, but we know that by now. Cal in here, Cal, as I call him, is full of great wisdom that can be transferable from
Yeah,
chess.
true. Yeah, chess and life are actually somehow similar if you're seeing it from a chess player perspective. And of course, for those of you who want to know more about this subject, apart from our experience, there's a great book by Garry Kasparov entitled How Life Imitates Chess. And there are many concepts there where we can draw parallels and actually practical life lessons from the world champion Garry Kasparov. So here, why I decided to go knight c3. It's a normal approach, developing towards the center. And the knight d7, typical modern stuff, probably going e5, c6. So this game is going as planned. So I suggest we should go to port
Exactly. Let's move
number
on
2.
a bit. It's still the opening. I think it's also interesting, also in this age category, to see what type of openings the players are employing.
Okay, so this is girls under 8.
First under 8, board number 2. With white we have Irmak Kesher from Turkey playing against Sahasra Aragonda from Switzerland. Sahasra is rated number 2 in this group category under 8.
Yeah, I think we've seen her games before playing on board 2, and she had convincing wins. So let's see how she's dealing with this type of pawn structure. For now, White was hinting of a double fianchetto development, which shows good control of the center from the far. And we could also see a potential of hanging pawns, as we saw yesterday. If these pawns will be alone in the center, this is a typical pawn structure where White gets the space advantage, but these pawns may become weak in the middle game. So interesting pawn structure choice today. Many other options. Also, you can take on d5 at the right moment. You can start to push e4, maybe knight e5. So flexible approach by White. This is a type of opening where there are many plans, and you're trying to adapt according to what Black is doing as well. So Black can either go rook e8, knight f8, trying to maneuver on the king side, or go b6 and bishop to b7 or a6, because the main struggle in Black's position is again this bishop on c8. We're gonna see it in many openings. This bishop on c8 is having a hard time finding good squares. A lot of times we want to get it out on f5 or g4, but this is not possible because this pawn on e6 is here, and the most optimal way would be b6 and bishop b7. We're still early in the game. There's no tactics, no trades even. All the pieces are on the board. So we're probably gonna get back to this game.
We are
later.
I think it's interesting again to watch a bit the openings that players under 8, under 10 are trying and trialing. Of course, as we progress with our transmission, we're going to go more in depth with positions. So let's go to board number 3. We're still category girls under 8. On board number 3, we have a Romanian player playing white, Carla Ioana Marchiș, playing against Fizerova Veronica. Carla Ioana is a favorite in this game. She's number 7 rated in this category, in this competition.
Okay, so starting at number 7, and she's playing on board number 3, which means that some of the opponents have slipped a bit, maybe a draw against a lower rated player.
Yes, I'm looking exactly at that.
We're already seeing some interesting results in this category, girls under 8. And yeah, we're talking about different openings, and here we have the Petrov defense, I think.
The classics. I think this is the first one that I learned. How about you?
Yeah, the Petrov?
The first one.
Yeah, it wasn't really my first ones, but I know the tactical trick here. If Black takes this pawn back on e4, you can jump with the queen on e2, and once the knight falls back, you can do a discover check on c6, and eventually you pick up the queen. And this was one of the first tricks I learned, and I was always hoping that my opponents would fall for it.
Didn't we all? Didn't we all?
Yeah, actually there was this theory developed recently that showed that knight e4 is still a good move, and after queen e2, you can go d5. Even Caruana played it in some game, and I was surprised to see that my childhood knowledge wasn't that complete. But that trick is still alive. It's just a small twist that Black is fine after d5 in that position. Okay, and we have short castle. The knight goes to c3, the rook goes to e1, and the pawn to b3. Okay, this is a typical decision. We're talking about the bishop on c1. There are many good squares. You can jump to g5, f4, even e3.
Or b2.
Or b2, yeah. Well, I decided to go queenside fianchetto with b3, bishop b2, and I actually like this approach because it hints of a future kingside attack. You might bring your queen, and the queen and the bishop work great together to attack g7 in the future. And I feel like this is a good decision. I don't know if Carla is still in her opening preparation or she's coming up with this idea by herself, but this is a solid approach, going bishop b2. Of course, there's no real drawback to this development. The bishop on b2, great square, long diagonal. And now it's Black who has to decide which way to go. Usually they go knight f8, knight g6. A lot of times you will see this knight on b8 jumping from d7, f8, g6, because there are many great prospects here on the king side. But the real question is, what's this bishop gonna do on e7? Is it gonna jump to f6, or is it gonna try to mirror this bishop on b2 by going f8 and g7? So this kind of decisions, we're already talking about the middle game. You're trying to find the best spots for your pieces, and in terms of pawn structure, it's just symmetric. We have 3 against 3 on the king side, 4 against 4 on the queen side. So there's not much to be said about the pawn structure, no weak squares. But now, in this symmetrical position, it's all about your dynamics, your dynamical pieces. If only one of your knights maybe gets f5 or gets to a better square, you get the advantage. So I think this is where the game actually is decided. But h6, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Probably defending against knight g5, knight e4 maneuvers, which is also a valid plan in this position. Okay, Carla goes bishop b2, and now black goes knight h5, saying, okay, this bishop is not on c1 anymore. Nobody is defending this square on f4. Let's jump straight with knight h5.
Making some rooms for the bishop as well.
Yeah, true. The bishop can go to f6, actually employing a pin here on the knight. So we probably will go knight e4 and transfer the knight here on the king side, and things will get more clear soon. But we will go to, I think, the next category.
Yes, we will. Just a short mention, we still have 2 Romanian players playing under 8, board 5 and 6. We have Melina Teodora Stoica and Sofia Iana Vălean. Also, Eileen Sofia Tsugui playing on board number 7. So there are quite a few Romanian players playing in the first on the first 10 boards. So we're going to obviously monitor how they're doing. But in the meantime, you're right, we're jumping straight to open under 8. So let's see what they're playing.
Okay, so open under 8, first board Dragos Roșca against Leonid Ivanovic. And we have another modern defense, which is actually interesting statistic, already the second modern defense of the day, and we haven't seen it so much in the other days. So I'm curious to see how this unfolds. Okay, now it's getting interesting, because after the c5 move, we are actually transposing to a close Sicilian. So imagine this position could have occurred also if white goes e4 first and then c5 by black. So we're transposing into a Sicilian, and now, okay, this is a pawn sacrifice, but I think it's also a blunder by our own Dragos Roșca. White got too excited with this kingside attack. He should have gone h3 first and then g4, but he decided to skip some steps and go g4 first, and then knight g4, knight g3, bishop d4, queen h4. Wow, black is in full control, and unfortunately for our local hero, queen g4 had to be played, because then checkmate would have occurred after h3. There's queen g3, and yeah, black is in full control. But actually after h3, probably knight f2 was the move. Yes. Rook takes f2, bishop f2, and knight f1. But it's not that bad. Going queen g4.
Yeah, queen g4 is really
it's called
intense.
It's a committal decision. It's called a desperado, when you're sacrificing your most important piece just to get rid of the checkmate. We are talking, just before this, we were talking about how people are handling attacks against their king. And you were telling us that by playing the modern defense, you realize that, okay, I can defend in many ways. Yeah, and here, white had more than one choice, but he chose the most dramatic one. The most dramatic one.
The most dramatic one.
Yeah, I can say that's not optimal. Now, okay, he picks up another pawn, but the queen, and another sacrifice. But okay. This queen advantage is enough for black, but still totally unnecessary to go rook d6.
Do you think there's any turnarounds at this age category?
In this age category, of course, there's turnarounds, because the experience.
In these types of positions, I mean.
With the queens, with the queen up, actually there are, because once you get your opponent's queen, psychologically speaking, you feel like there's nothing that can go wrong. But we still have back rank issues. We still have a couple of bishops in the game, some skewers might occur. So it's highly unlikely, but I saw a lot of games where after one player loses the queen, the other one just relaxes completely and starts to slow down, and then some surprises occur. So I'm curious to see, once we go back to this game later on, if there are any surprises.
Something that surprises me is the time.
Okay.
If you look at the time,
Okay. No time spent. Okay.
no time spent.
This is a common thing. We were talking in the meeting we had today with our juniors as well. Your time management and the fact that the game has a few critical decisions. We call it critical moments, and this is the time to actually think, take your time, calculate variations, spend around 15 to 20 minutes for a move, and decide what's the best approach. But yeah, here White decided there's no such thing as critical moments and went spending like 2 minutes for this whole 20 moves. Definitely not something good for this position as well. The material is bad, but okay.
Interesting. Wait. I see.
E5. You see tactics?
I see. I mean, E5. He has the potential of opening the, the F.
Okay, some bishop D5 stuff.
Exact. Bishop D5. Might be
there.
Might be.
Some glimpses of hope, right?
Exactly. I'm a big fan of underdogs, and I always like a turnaround.
Oh, there's also some knight E4 jumps. Okay, you go bishop G2 now, so you defend this rook. Maybe queen G4. Maybe knight E4. Okay, there are some tricks.
There might be something there.
And he goes C3, which is actually not such a bad move, actually, because this bishop is trapped.
It's trapped.
With this E5 move, black blocked this diagonal, and now C3. Okay, so
still no time spent. I'm very impressed. So White has 1 hour and 31 minutes after 20 moves.
Takes on F4. Okay, this is typical of this category. Maybe the nerves are too high and they cannot handle it and they need to make a move, so they get rid of this decision-making process. I was feeling this myself when I was their age, so I totally understand. But at least from a aesthetic point of view, it feels like White is slowly improving. Slowly getting there, step by step. This knight on A6 is out of the game. And we still have one knight left, and we know that knights are really, really dangerous pieces. They can jump around, they can do double attacks, forks. So we'll definitely get back to this game.
Yes, please. I'm very invested in this game now. Let's move to second board. We have Mihail Nikitakis, sorry for that, playing White against Rabiej Mateusz on board number 2.
Let's see. It's a Sicilian.
Mihail is rated number 5 in this category. So we can already see that there were quite a few turnarounds in the first two games.
Yeah, already with the Open 8, we see that the ratings are not that indicative of the differences between players. Maybe we have talented juniors that haven't had the chance to play tournaments. There are many factors counting in when we're talking about this ELO rating system. So we saw some upsets, and the games are getting level, I would say. And here, talking about this position, we had a 4-knight Sicilian. The material count is equal, but White manages to have the bishop pair, while Black has a strong pawn on D4. And now we can argue that this D4 pawn is a big asset, giving Black the space, giving the E3 square, but at the same time, we can think that after bishop B2 and doubling on the D file, you can attack this pawn and later on even win it. So this will be a debate for the later moves. Last move was rook c8, hinting at this file, maybe getting the knight to c3. So balanced game, but I would predict this bishop on c1 once it gets into the game, and also the fact that there's no dark square bishop for Black. I think we will see some tactics around the dark squares here.
Let's see, definitely. We still have a bit of time. Quite interesting to see how the games are progressing, also in terms of openings, middle games. We were watching first girls under 8, and there were so less moves made compared to open under 8.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Their speed of play, it's already moved 15 here. The last game was
Wow.
moved 20. Yeah, it feels like the time spent is different from boys, from girls, because they were thinking more in the opening, and in the boys category it was just fast approach, straight to the middle game. Interesting to see. The only thing that comes to mind is just that Nepomniachtchi is the only player that actually implemented the system where he's playing really fast moves, and maybe he has a lot of fans all over the world, and maybe young juniors are trying to copy his style. But we need to say that Nepomniachtchi has come to this style after thousands of hours of training. Is also employing some psychological tricks here and there. So just copying his style is not the best approach when we're talking about junior chess.
Let's move on to board number 3. For this category, we have Gerardo Lara Pablo from Spain playing against Kazimzadeh Muhammad.
Okay, we have an Italian going d3, slow bishop b3, knight d2, h3, knight f1, the typical knight maneuver, queen to e2, and here we are. It's move 10. White has spent almost 2 minutes, while black has spent close to half an hour. And it feels like black has made it first into the center with this d5 break. So I'd be happy playing black here, but he also needs to find a way to continue the fight for the center, maybe bring the queen, the rook on the d file. There's also this question of whether this knight on c6 can arrive safely to g6, because this pawn on e5 is still hanging. So it's not so easy, because a lot of times you think, even in the Ruy-Lopez or the Sicilian, you're making the breakthrough with the pawn on d5, but there's still a long way to go as black. You just equalize, but now fighting for an advantage is a whole nother discussion. Maybe moves like a5, a4, trying to get some space on the queen side. So I really like the fact that white delayed this castling, because we saw this maneuver happening right before the castling was made. Usually they go castles, rook e1, and then knight f1, and this has a short drawback that once you push f4, your rook is not on the f file anymore, and your attack is slowed down with one tempo. But by employing this maneuver before castling, you still get your rook on f1, and once you hit f4, the file is fully open and you can launch the attack. And yeah, this bishop on c1 usually finds a good place on g5, either trading on f6 or just keeping the pin alive to make some threats. Interesting Italian, and
playable, comfortable with black as well.
Yeah, both colors.
Both
I think
sides.
both players are happy. That's what we can say. It feels like white is still in their preparation, while black feels like they equalize. It's just that black's time management is a bit slow. Close to 30 minutes already spent, while white has blitzed out the moves. So we'll see what's gonna happen and how this impacts the later stages with the critical moments where you actually need time to think.
Let's maybe go just very fast to board number 4, because we have a Romanian player, Rareș Apostu. He's favorite number 9 in this competition, under 8, playing against Artem Kucher from Ukraine. And I just want to see maybe very...
Okay, the Najdorf, the bishop g5, Najdorf, and followed by bishop c4, which is the most aggressive approach, h6 and bishop back to e3. We're still in theory, it's still move number 9. And we can look at the time. White has 1 hour and 23 minutes left, while black has 1 hour and 10 minutes left. And we can guess which player is more comfortable with the position in terms of their opening preparation, because these players are spending 2 to 3 hours every morning trying to predict what their opponent is going to play. And if you're lucky and you get the position that you already studied the morning before the game on the board during the game, you can get to save some time for the more important moments of this game. So bishop e3, it's probably the decision of whether to go g6, bishop g7, or e6. bishop e7, that's the decision. I don't think there's that much time to go g6. It feels like black already delayed some development and things might happen. And when we're talking about the Sicilian, we need to mention this kind of moves. Even if they go e6, there's always tricks with like knight f5 sacrifice, knight d5 sacrifice. It's probably not going to happen in this game, but with Sicilian there's always something to surprise us. So definitely this game is going to be interesting, and Rares just needs to decide if he's going to go short castle or long castle. But judging by the approach with bishop g5 and bishop c4, long castle would be my guess.
Interesting. We're going to maybe come back to this game. For now, let's move on to the next category. We have girls 10.
Okay, girls under 10. Do we have Olivia Lukasz against
Yes.
Zoe Veselov?
And it's really interesting because favorite number 1, it's not here. So Lukasz Olivia playing white from Germany. She is favorite number 21 in this competition, playing against Zoe Veselov, favorite number 4.
Okay, let's roll the moves, and we have the Alapin, a great way to meet the Sicilian. Sometimes they get into an Isolani pawn structure, but this particular line with knight to f6 and knight to d5 is trying to avoid that and play for really, really sharp lines. Go to d4 takes, and let's see once the position stabilizes. Okay, now the pawn structure is stable. We know the plans here. White wants to go queen to e4, bishop to d3, hit h7 with a checkmate. Usually black defends with pawn to g6. And now bishop h6, rook goes back, and you can start attacking with moves like h4, h5. So it's really clear to us what white intends in this position, while black is trying to launch an attack on the queen side, which is not so easy to do. You try to go like knight c6, maybe knight a5, something along the c file. But usually these positions are all about if black manages to survive the kingside attack or not. And yeah, we actually have a really strong Romanian grandmaster, Vaida Levente, who is a world expert on this particular line. And I was always happy to see his games. And in this position, he would find creative ways of attacking, and yeah, really entertaining player. Okay, that goes knight d7. And as we mentioned, in terms of maneuvering the knight, good places on f8. You are defending h7, and your king is safe for the moment. So black is going for this. You need to go rook e8 and then knight f8. And we'll see what white is going to do. Probably just rook to d1, go knight c3, and slowly trying to develop the other pieces. So normal.
Still opening.
Normal Lapin.
We have a Romanian player on board number 2 playing with black, Emma Crețescu. She's number 6 rated in this competition, playing against Nare Isahanian from Armenia, who's rated number 23 in this competition. So Emma with the black is a favorite in this game. So let's see.
Okay, let's see this from the favorite's perspective. She's playing with the black pieces, so let's see what happened. Okay. White went for this Collet system, which is really solid approach, and now pawn to e4, a bunch of trades, and I think I saw f5 followed by some rook lifts from what I understood. Okay, queen h4 now. The queen jumps straight to the king side, and it's a double attack, attacking d4 and h2, but white has f4. Lucky that this diagonal is blocked, and also this line is blocked as well, so you cannot capture the pawns. And now rook f6 is met by rook f3. Okay, mutual rook lifts. That's interesting, because you want to go rook h3 as well. Yeah, I rarely see that, because the timing needs to be extremely right for white to have rook f3 against rook f6. And yeah, it feels like black's attack will fizzle out.
Yeah,
but
exactly. The two bishops are not playing, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're blocked.
They're blocked.
But at the end of the day, white remains with this pawn on d4. Black has this pawn on e6, this backwards pawn. And we're going to see this debate of whether black manages to get to d4 first, or white goes to e6, grabbing this pawn. And it's probably black who has the edge, because d4 is harder to defend. And now I was thinking bishop c6 actually.
I was thinking about the same.
Because you were mentioning that the bishops are not doing, not attacking anything at the moment, so why not just hit this rook and see what happens?
You have rook h3.
Okay, and that's some tactical things.
Exactly.
Queen h4, you might take and then take on h7. And yeah, I'm not so happy with that.
Or then you have rook, no, actually. No, I'm not happy necessarily with bishop c6.
Yeah, bishop c6 runs into rook h3, and the problem is there's no good square for the queen.
There's no square for the queen.
Yeah, unless, yeah, just g4, but you take on g4. And the thing is, they can still play this rook h7. You're happy you get a pawn, but your rook is kind of trapped there. And I can grab f4, and I was trying to figure out that endgame, and it's not so clear to me how this rook is getting away from h7. So this might actually be a line we're seeing in the game, but at the same time, you're risking a bit with black. The position is stable. You can just go rook h6, drop your queen back to f6. There's no need to enter this kind of complications and give white the counterplay, because apart from this little tactical trick, white doesn't have any great active ideas
at this time.
But
Correct.
interesting, actually interesting game. And
let's see what happens on board number 3 before moving to open 10. We have playing with the white Ashnad. I'm terrible with names. Bakshizada.
Okay.
Playing against Solomia Svitenko from Ukraine.
Okay, we're seeing the Reti opening. Okay, let's see this from white's perspective. Trying to set up a strong center, and also this bishop on g2 will be a huge asset for white. Going e4, d5, and it resembles a Benoni structure. Okay, this pawn on e7 hasn't been traded yet, but yeah, as we mentioned, going straight into a Benoni, you need to change this pawn on e7, and now bishop f5 and rook d8. Okay, rook d8 is not a move I'm familiar with. Usually the rook tends to play on the open e file, and this is sort of a concept where you're trying to overprotect this d5 square, but at the moment I feel like this is prophylaxis, unnecessary prophylaxis, because there is no real threat behind that. So okay, rook to d1 was played, and now black to move. We need to come up with some sort of way of rearranging the pieces. I would think a move like knight d7 and knight to e5 would be normal. Of course, rook e8 is perfectly normal. I wouldn't go a5, for example, even if it seems tempting to hit the queen. But a5 is met by a4, and now this knight jumps to b5, and you're giving your opponent an important square. So you can still make a sort of waiting move here with rook e8, because there are no threats. Maybe this is instructive for the viewers. If your opponent doesn't have a clear threat, like taking one of your pieces or checks or checkmates, you can focus on just developing a piece. You can make a waiting move. There is no need to rush when there's no threats.
Sound advice.
Sound advice, yeah, because it's...
I think this is something that we see often in 8 and 10 categories, when things are just going smooth, normal. There tends to be someone or a player that wants to crash a bit the game, maybe open up the
make
game.
some imbalances.
Exactly. Rush maybe sometimes into an attack. It feels a bit maybe uncomfortable, just playing situations.
Yeah,
for
I know what you
under
mean.
8 or under 10 for them to play.
I still have it now. I'm 25, and when I see a symmetrical pawn structure, it's like, oh, okay, something needs to happen. Let's sacrifice some exchange. So that's a feeling common with all chess players. Everybody wants to see interesting tactics, but sometimes you need to have the patience to build it up.
Exactly. We're going to take a 10 minutes break. When we're going to come back, we're going to obviously discuss and jump in straight into the other categories. So we're going to start with the Open 10, and I'm going to show you after the break the first answer in regards to the puzzle of the day.
We have an answer.
Exactly. So we're going to thank Alexandru Călin for that, and we're going to come back with your answer.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome back, everyone. We are here in the studio. We had our first break. We saw some really interesting games, and we just want to remind you that we have the puzzle of the day here. Maybe if you tune later on, you can switch back to the transmission and see the puzzle. We already have a few responses, and tomorrow we'll announce the winners among you guys who are commenting with the solution. So feel free to write in the comments what you think the solution is for the Mate in 2 puzzle. Okay, and now back to where we left off. It's the under 10 category. Maria could tell us a bit
Who we
about
have.
the players.
Exactly. So on board number 1, we have playing with white, Romanian player Yanis Andrei Gania playing against number 1 rated in this competition, Open under 10, Larry Marc from France. So let's see how things are progressing on board number 1.
Okay, so Larry Marc is number 1 seed, right?
Yes.
Okay, playing the Caro-Kann, of course. Let's see this from Black's perspective, because it's always the favorite who has to make the tougher decisions. So the Caro-Kann going for g6, normal stuff, bishop on f5, and this is actually theory, so it's normal to play this. People might wonder if these double pawns will be a problem, but not really. The g file is open. You go e6, you go bishop g7, short castle, and you're fine with black, especially with the fact that your knight on e4 can jump at any moment. Knight to a3, a6, knight to c2, e6, queen e2, knight e4, knight e5, takes, rook to g8. So this decision hints that black is not going to castle long anymore, not going to castle short, sorry. It's going to castle long, and the rook on g8 is attacking g2, so you need to handle this. Pawn to f3, knight to d6, knight to e3, bishop e7, and here we are with the position. It's interesting. So what is white's move? This is the kind of position where it's not so clear what you need to do, but the easy decision will be, okay, let's castle. One side or the other. It might be dangerous to go kingside, so it feels a bit safer to go queenside, but it feels like you can also delay castling a bit, but just moving the queen around makes little sense. So by elimination, we realize that, okay, you gotta make a move, you gotta castle, and probably castling long will be it.
I'm very curious how this game is going to progress. Yanis Andrei is ranked number 30. However, he has already 2 out of 2 points, and I think it's going to be a very interesting game.
Yeah, the structure resembles the structure we talked about before, the Carlsbad structure. So black could think of the typical minority attack.
Before b5.
Yeah, that's a good plan, but having the king in the center, it's a bit awkward, so you might consider delaying this to a later endgame. So black will probably make a move like queen d7, queen to c6, and either rook to c8 or long castle, and then jump with the rook on c8. So balanced position, but okay. Short castle.
I think maybe the black plan might change now that white short castle.
Okay, brave decision with short castle. There are not that many threats here right now, but on the long term, having an open file against your king is something that might be worrying for the player with the white pieces, Yanis Gania. But this hints as well that he's playing against black's plans. Once you go long castle with black, it's easier for white to open files if the king is on the other side of the board. So it will be interesting to see. But at the same time, we need to point out that having your king in the middle of the board is usually bad practice. But here, this pawn formation with f7, e6, d5, f5 shelters the king really, really well. And we might think that there's no real need of castling right now. The only thing to worry about is how you're bringing the rook to a8. And if you want to get creative, you can go rook to g6, move your queen, move your king to d7, and then jump with the rook on g8. So this looks like a normal plan. And yeah, I was thinking maybe some threats.
I'm sure maybe white is going to want to open up the center in one way or another, maybe with c4 at one point.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of a tactic here. If you go rook e1 with white, you might be threatening things on the e file, going things like knight to d5 takes and maybe bishop f6. So this is already hinting that the fact that the king is in the middle, even if you sacrifice a piece, it's worth the attack. So yeah, that's some interesting nuances. In a seemingly quiet position, we can always find some tactics.
Which we love.
We love tactics here in the studio.
Let's see what happens on board number 2, where we have Nikita Filindash from Czech Republic. He is ranked number 2 in this competition, playing against Railwani Tavish.
Okay, Nikita Filindash feels like a household name because I've heard this name before when we were commenting on this section. So he's probably the rating favorite. He went for the names of Indian, getting the double pawns. He switched from a bishop to a knight. He gave up the bishop, but in return he get the double pawns and he's gonna attack them. Okay, queen a5, queen c1, knight to d7, knight to d2, queen back to c7, and here the position has changed dramatically. Just to see a before and after picture, here white is having the double pawns, the position is a bit cramped, but after these trades the position is opening up, and I think this favors white. Yeah, definitely favors white because we know from theory that the bishops are better in open positions while knights are better in closed positions. Wow, that's actually an interesting debate. That's cool to see this D pawn.
Looking at the pawn structure.
The D pawn, is it a weakness? Is it a passed pawn? Theory has debated this kind of positions a lot, but it all depends on the fact if black manages to block it. So if black manages to block this pawn on d5, this pawn will be weak eventually, but if this pawn starts rolling over the board, then it will be an asset for white. So interesting debate. We have the bishop pair, which is not doing much at the moment, but you can always expect surprises from the two bishops on the board. And this knight on d2, a bit shy at the moment, but jumping from b3 to c5 is a solid plan. I don't know how to evaluate this actually. What do you think? Is it equal, or it feels like white is better? Let's switch the perspective. Maybe from white's perspective, this looks a bit more space for white. Maybe hard to tell.
Hard to tell.
Hard to tell. No tactics, no threads, nothing concrete. It's just long-term pawn structure and the way the pieces are gonna enter the game. But okay, my instinct is that black is gonna be fine here, even though
I would be comfortable playing.
Yeah, because the plan is clear with black. You just want to block this pawn on d4. You just bishop e6, knight d5, rook c8, rook d8, and maybe start trading pieces. And we want to point out that if all the pieces are gone and we're only left with the pawns, this is actually a winning endgame for black, because 2 against 1 here on the queen side will transform to a passed pawn, which can be used to get the king out, and once the king is out we can jump straight into the king side pawns. So this is called a distant passed pawn. We all know this, of course, from Dvoretsky's books, and this is already a hint that black is more comfortable with any kind of trade. So this adds a layer of difficulty for white's decision, because you need to find the best squares for your pieces, but at the same time avoid trading your pieces with your opponent. So
I think this is interesting to watch, because also playing white is the favorite in this game. So I'm curious how he's going to handle this position from that perspective as well. I'm sure he's very determined to win. He's playing against a player ranked number 33. Tavish is ranked number 33 in this competition. So we might see him really, really wanting to win.
Okay, we've seen great games from Nikita here, but it felt to us that he was more on the tactical side of things. And this position has dried out, no tactics, and now we can see if his game steps up to the next level of whether he can prove himself in this kind of positions where the tactics are gone and it's all about pure strategy in a queenless middle game. So cool stuff, I would say. And let's just go to the next
Let's
board.
go to board number 3. We have Boris Kolodziejczyk playing against Leonard.
Beliatedinov. I think I've said this name before.
Thank you.
He might be the rating favorite. Mr. Leonard Beliatedinov.
Actually, he's not.
He's not? Okay.
He's not. He's ranked number 37 in this competition with an ELO of 1,546. Against Boris, he's rated number 10 in this competition, 1,762. So Leonard is the underdog. How is he doing?
Okay, if we snapshot this position, it feels, it feels a bit interesting because the kings are on the queen side, and the black's king has no pawns in front of it, and he just played c5. But what I'm really happy about is that this pawn was on c6, and you know what this means, that this was a Caro-Kann. And this is a typical plan here in the Caro-Kann. Of course, you cannot capture this because this bishop on g7 and queen on b6 will attack b2.
Will mate.
Yeah, checkmate ends the game. And yeah, not so easy for white. Of course, some little tactic here with bishop to g6 takes, and maybe queen to g6, having a double attack on the bishops. Probably not working 100%, but worth considering the idea.
The bishop in g7 is really, really strong.
Yeah, the bishop on g7 is strong, and I was thinking if there's actually a way to get rid of it, maybe trade it, but it's not so clear. Probably pawn to c4, even if it's funny, because I tend not to play moves where my king would get it exposed, but maybe c4 is the only thing here. c4, knight to f6, and maybe bishop to c3. This kind of structure is yeah, maybe a good decision. But yeah, we'll see how white handles this. Only 40 minutes left for Boris, while Leonard has 1 hour and 22.
Time trouble
So,
already.
Yeah, a bit of time
Not yet,
difference.
but exactly, quite a big time difference.
And I would say, okay, he goes 95 eventually.
I was looking at this
Yeah,
move
this
as
is
well, but
typical.
did not
You're trying to block this
calculate
diagonal,
anything.
but
Might feel a bit unsafe.
yeah, what happens if I just take on d4? This is the question that needs to be answered. But yeah, I don't see an answer right away. Knight c4 comes to mind, but it feels like it's just hitting the queen, but no plan afterwards. And probably Boris has calculated something, but it's not clear to me what exactly. But even sacrificing this pawn on d4, it's not out of the discussion. Even if you lose a pawn, you can still play around it, but at least the checkmate threats are
Exactly, and you block the bishop in g7. So it might be interesting to watch. We might come back to this game. I feel already that the level is progressing.
Yeah, already high level chess.
Already
We're talking about
higher.
open under 10, so really, really good games.
And now we're going to move to girls under 12.
Okay, girls under 12. Let's see what we have here. Is it Kinga Lajdamik against Emily Alfano?
I am on it, and yes, it is. So Kinga Lajdamik with white pieces from Poland, playing against Emily, who's rated number 2 in this competition, meaning that the player rated number 1 either lost or
Drew. Yeah.
Drew.
Probably drew. Yeah, Vujovic Vera. I think we saw her game yesterday.
We did.
And she made the draw. Knight to g5, queen to d7, h4. Okay. Always happy to see this h4 push. d5, f3, h6, knight h3, Knight to f2. Oh, it feels like this knight was on a weird journey from f3 to f2 in 4 moves. We are not so sure what's the point behind it, but the thing is that black is making progress while white is making some maneuvers. So it feels like black is better to me just because of this last sequence. And this h4 pawn might be weak. You can just go queen d8 and there's no one there to defend it. If you go g3, I can just take. And yeah, black can castle king side. White can't, because again this h4 pawn will be lost. So maybe that's instructive for the viewers who are a big fan of this h4 pawn push, unless black has played a move like g6. Playing h4 sometimes it's not the optimal strategy, because you might be leaving this pawn just as a weakness for you later on to defend, because we can see this h4 pawn was blocked by this knight. There's no h5, and you're just left with this pawn on h4, and you are wondering, why didn't I go just h2, pawn on h2? Everything was defended. This g3 square was covered. I could have gone short castle. So this is a kind of h4 that I would regret, but
a bit uncomfortable
yeah,
for
maybe
white. No clear plans, I would say. The king is stuck in the middle.
Yeah, maybe
now.
g4. Maybe g4 is the
Maybe.
way to justify this, because okay, you realize that it's not so comfortable, but you need to come up with an idea that justifies this move. So playing g4, even though it looks a bit weird, but it feels like at least I'm pushing the pawns on the king side, and maybe I get some h5 in, and finally this whole thing makes sense.
I think that was her plan with the
Knight f2?
with the knight f2.
Yeah, okay, makes sense, because g4 was running into bishop h4 check. So in knight f2, you can just go g4 and push these pawns on the king side. Yeah, that's interesting. And it's probably black who needs to find a concrete way of stopping this sort of threat. Not really a threat, because there's no clear advantage to it, but just a small plan, trying to avoid g4. And we're gonna see how she handles this while we are moving on to board number 2.
Where we have Ania Beber playing against Kaja Radkowska. Ania is playing with white. She's favorite number 3 in this competition.
Okay, playing this Cole system, going knight to e5 so early. Okay, this is unusual, because usually you want to wait for all your pieces to be out before you're jumping with the knight on e5, but it's probably part of some home preparation, because a lot of times preparation involves maybe violating some rules of the openings just for a small surprise, or maybe an interesting plan. Here the bishop on e2 and the queen on d1 hint for g4, a move that will explode the king side. You gain some space, and maybe you go f4, f5 right away. This might be a plan. Knight f3, and going c4 here, going knight e5. Okay, and bishop c1. Okay, if you have to go bishop c1, this might hint that your strategy wasn't that optimal. But here, going g5 is too risky, in my opinion. I mean, we're talking about g4 as white, but it felt a bit more safe. But now g5 is it's not supposed to work here, actually. But unless there's anything right away, this g5 will just be a long-term weakness that we can take advantage on in an endgame, or maybe later on with some tactics. And we need to say that the threat is actually linked to a move like f6, because now, okay, even if you play g5, the position is still dangerous, because the queen is hinting h2, bishop again attacking h2, so f6, you read it with the knight on f3, and maybe if I'm attacking your knight with the bishop, you might have some trouble on h2.
And I still have the knight to c3, which can be uncomfortable for
yeah,
white.
knight to c3, It's a double attack. You need to move your queen, and now I'm taking your bishop, getting the bishop pair, and I might start an attack on your light squares with moves like maybe bishop e4 and so on.
But obviously with the f6, you're exactly threatening directly on h2 as well, and maybe this is where g5 comes into play.
Yeah, so it might make sense after all. But it's not something we see every day here, this g5. I was wondering if maybe the move was justified by the fact that there were no other squares for the queen. I was thinking about this actually. If queen f6, there's knight d7. If queen h4, there's... Okay, maybe not g3, but you might be not so comfortable with the queen on h4. So maybe g5 was just necessary after all. Okay, we can move to board number 3.
Board number 3, we have Blanka Ejmont from Poland playing against Hariharan Shambavi, who's the favorite in this game, playing with the black pieces.
Okay, the Slav defense and the exchange variation of the Slav. Queen e3, knight f3. Okay, symmetrical stuff. a4, queen. Okay, queen goes up, queen goes down. It's not losing some tempo. That's not a good idea, but it feels like white managed to maneuver around this, and there are not that many threats for black. Oh, and now this is actually a cool maneuver, knight to e1 followed by knight to d3. And yeah, now h3 was the last move, because black's threat includes pawn to g5 followed by pawn to f4, trapping this bishop. So yeah, h3 was kind of necessary. So interesting to me the fact that, okay, white made a mistake. She went queen d2 followed by queen d1, losing 2 moves. But black had no things to take advantage of right away, and now white is just clearly better. Maybe just going back to this moment, I was trying to come up with something, but probably just normal development would have been enough. Something like bishop d7, rook c8. But black decided to close down the position, and we know that in closed positions there is more time for maneuvering, and this is the reason why this loss of tempo for white is not felt immediately, because black decided to close the position and the pace of the game slowed down. And we need to ask ourselves the question, what's black's next move? And
g5.
yeah,
G5.
yeah, it's g5. It's g5, but it's a different kind of g5. It's like, okay, if we go back to this game, this g5 was a defensive approach. You need to block your attack on the queen. It's not so clear if it will help the attack, but here the pawns are actually suggesting, this pawn on f5, this pawn on e6 are suggesting that, okay, you need to start rolling the pawns, you need to go g5, you need to go f4, otherwise there's no clear plan. So interesting comparison, same move, two different, completely different contexts, and here black's king is actually super safe. You can hide on h8, the rook can come to g8, there are many pieces to defend. And on the other side of the board, white is trying to go rook c1, knight c5, and threatening things over the c file. And yeah, it's playing on opposite sides, but it always adds a layer of danger when you're attacking towards the king. Even though on the queen side you can make some damage, maybe get the bishop pair, but when you're doing an attack on the king, it's even harder to defend, and sometimes you may rush your decisions, as we saw in one of the first games we were talking about today, in that Dragos Shroshka game, where an attack on the king was decisive.
I'm betting on black here.
You're betting on black?
The attack, yes. Let's see, obviously, how it progresses. Until then, I think we have a lot more games to show you guys. We do have a comment, and I think this is something that we could debate, you and I.
Of course.
Chess Architect mentions that there is a really interesting game on Open under 18 between Kutlas and Ohanian, and would like to see some more action.
Okay.
We might spice things up a bit, go maybe open 10, open 18, open 12, open 16, and just to show you not necessarily a progression, but more of a mix. What do you say?
Okay, let's just go to under 18. Which game?
That was board number 2, open 18. We can start with that. If we received a request from Chess Architect, I think it's interesting for us to see what's going on. I heard that there's some action, so I think that that's always good. So we're going a bit now we're moving to open 18, which I might add might be the most intense competition out of this European Youth Chess Championship.
Okay, is it Elham's game or which game?
The second Kutlas Nikolaos on board number 2 between Emin Ohanyan playing with black. Emin Ohanyan is an international master. He's ranked number 2 in this competition with an ELO of 2,490.
Okay, it feels like theory, but let's see. Knight f3, 6, takes. Nicolas with the white pieces. Okay, this bishop f4 is quite modern approach. And knight b5 takes. Yeah, this is all just theory. It looks crazy, but it's theory. Knight to d4, queen to d1, and I think you're sacrificing the queen at some point. Yeah, you're sacrificing the queen for a lot of material. You have 3 pieces and a rook, and you lose the rook because if you move it around, then queen to e4 and queen to b4 is just dropping material. And now it's clear. 3 minor pieces for the queen. Okay, but a really good game. We thank Chess Architect for the suggestion. And okay, rook to e5, and now we're ending up with this endgame, which is more or less expected from this kind of line. It's a really long line, and this endgame is something we expect. And yeah, I don't have a clear evaluation. Probably White's next move is gonna be between knight b7 and maybe retreating with the knight to try to block this h-pawn. Usually when we're talking about this material imbalance, 2 pieces against the rook, we're trying to favor the 2 pieces because they can cooperate easily. There are many threats with the knight, the bishop, and so on. But in this particular case, this h-pawn is going to be a passed pawn, and it's going to be tricky for White to stop it, because we know that usually knights are having a hard time stopping this h-file pawns. So I would bet on black here, because I don't see a clear way, a clear plan for White to stop this pawn. So you probably don't want to take on b7. You want to get your knight over here on the king side, and at the same time, it feels like black can either get 2 passed pawns on the king side, which would be just decisive.
But very interesting. Some good takeaway might be the line that was chosen, that feels chaosy for anyone watching it without maybe knowing that there is something, well, that there is actually a line to it.
Yeah, this is modern opening theory in action. It's move 25, and if we just look at the time management, White has spent 1 minute for this complicated position, while black has spent close to 1 hour. So it's clear to us that this position has been studied before by Nikolaos. This is opening preparation, and he probably still has a plan around it. There's still some ideas. This king is not that easy to come into the game. Maybe some forks with the knight. So
but I think Emin was taking a bit aback by surprise. If we look at the time management, this is something that we can clearly see. However, the variation was...
Yeah, it's really straightforward for White to play, but for Black, so many decisions over the board. It's tough to imagine that he made the best decisions, but okay.
We might be looking at the variation during the break.
Yeah, probably we can have a look at that, and then now we're gonna go back to our usual routine, and we were left off with
With open,
Open,
we're going to open 12.
open 12, okay.
We actually went through girls 12. Now we're moving back a bit with open 12, where we have, well, we had yesterday a very interesting game where you were really invested.
Okay, my student, okay.
Tell
Matei
us something
Dodoi. Yeah, okay.
a bit
Matei
of the
Dodoi
game.
against Tudor Henry. It was a really intense game. Actually, we can quickly have a look of what happened for people who maybe missed this El Clasico encounter. The main takeaway was that both players were nervous and they spent a lot of time in the opening. It was a Ragozin, and here they were already close to 1 hour each in the tank. And it was surprising to me that Matei decided to go for a kingside attack, not so typical of his style. But after some trades happened, it all fizzled out in a rook endgame, and it was a draw in the end, but definitely an interesting game. And yeah, here they were both playing under 1 minute, so they were really accurate under time trouble. So yeah, Team Dodoi was happy with the result. Maybe he could have got more if the queens were still on the board, but with the time management issues, there was nothing we can do. So yeah, we can go back to what's happening right now.
We have 3 Romanian players on the first 4 boards, or infiltrated.
Infiltrated, yeah.
Exactly. But on board number 1, we have Ilai Zakin playing white Marin Feragut Pau. Marin Feragut is the is rank number 4 in this competition with a rating of 2,193. So he's the favorite in this game, playing with black. Let's see what's happening.
Okay, the Moscow variation, pretty standard. Going A4, C4. Oh, bishop E2. This pawn feels like hanging, but okay, you can take on B5. But I was curious because usually the bishop rolls back to C2. Yeah, that's the common way, because that's why you move the pawn on C3 to have some room on C2 for the bishop. But okay, still normal. 93. Okay, actually this is a real theory. So yeah, the reason is that you want to trade this bishop so your queen gets into the game. And here we are. This is a live moment of this game, and yeah, clear problem with the king on E8. We can see it from black's perspective that it's quite scary.
It is developing up the pieces.
You need to come up with a move.
It has been really delayed.
What could be the move? Could be
What could be the move?
just blocking the diagonal, maybe.
Yeah, because I'm threatening Queen A8 as well.
So a move like knight D5, run scene 2. Maria is trying to improve her tactics, so this is a good moment, teaching moment.
Not the best.
Not the best moment? Okay.
Not the best, but yes. So
If you're trying to block the diagonal with knight D5, common tactic, knight fork, you just capture on D5, queen captures, and then you get a double attack on the king and the queen, a royal fork, and you lose a knight. So you already need to be careful with black here. There are some tactics here and there. So if knight D5 is not working, maybe pawn to D5.
or maybe knight to B6.
Knight B6 is still an option. You're covering this A8 square, but I couldn't really find the follow-up after queen B7. The queen is closer to the king, threats are creeping in, and I don't see a way to defend thereafter.
Maybe D5.
Yeah, maybe D5 is one of the only options that black has. And judging by the time management, both players are out of their opening books. Okay, and we have D5 on the board, and it's now white to move, trying to think of some clever ways of keeping the pressure on for this king on E8 to be attacked still. Maybe a move like rook E1 could be a solution, but at the same time you might fear that it's too slow. So if you still want to do some direct threats, I was thinking D3, and of course if you take, then the bishop will be out. So something to speed up. That's a good thing to mention, that in positions where your opponent's king is in the middle, you want to speed up, you want to open lines and do whatever you can to get your pieces closer. And also in this category we have b4.
I was looking exactly at that.
b4 is a really good move. The fact that you cannot really find a way to retreat the queen, maybe c8, but that looks not so comfortable. And if you take en passant, then
I have
bishop
bishop
a3,
a3,
and we're bringing another piece into the game. So this is playing exactly by the book. You're bringing pieces to the attack. You're even sacrificing a pawn, but you don't really think about that. The more pieces closer to the king, we're only playing for the checkmate here. So
exactly, especially taking advantage of black's position and situation.
yeah, so b4 might be one
Might
of
be
the
the best
candidates, or even b3, and even if it looks slower. But I'm worried with
I'm
b4.
still threatening.
Yeah, still because
With b4 I might just retreat.
exactly, and there's
then I
no
don't have the
bishop
bishop
a3.
a3 edge anymore. Yeah, let's see. Definitely interesting because Pau Marin playing with black is the favorite.
He's the favorite?
Yes, in this game.
This is danger levels.
Exactly, playing against Eli, rated number 15 in this competition. So definitely interesting to see how they're going to be progressing in this game. Let's move a bit to board number 2, where we have Alizada Pasham playing against Brezina Piotr from Poland. Piotr is the favorite in this game, and he's favorite number 6 in this competition. Again, we're talking about under 12, open under 12.
Okay. A lot of pieces have been traded early on. It started off as a Trompovsky, it transposed to a French defense structure, and now a lot of pieces have been swapped. This is a common pawn structure. We see it also in the Caro-Kann, in the Scandinavian. White has the space advantage, and black is trying to trade as many pieces for comfortable endgame, and short castle is what black intends, while white is trying to get his king over to the other side, but oftentimes he's not in time because of moves like e5. Now you can bring your rook to e8, and there's no time for you to move the queen and castle long as well. So e5 short castle, takes on d4, takes to the knight, knight e5, bishop to e4, knight to c4. Okay, this is tactics time again, and I just want to point out a rule that I find really helpful for maybe for people at home as well. Whenever you're finding an undefended piece like this knight on c4, you might start thinking of double attacks. And here the tactic is bishop to h7, king to h7, and queen to d3, check and pick up the knight, and it's a clear pawn. And this is what actually white did, bishop h7. Unfortunately, there's no king h8 because of queen h5, and yeah, takes, and you just win a pawn. Okay, bishop h3 is interesting, but I can bring my queen back, and there's no threat. Danger is out, and this is the position. White is a clear pawn up. We're only worried about this knight on b3, who is not finding good square at the moment. There are good squares on the board. We have d5, we have e5. These two good central squares. Even d5 is a great outpost because it can be supported by this pawn on c4. But for now, we need a bunch of moves to maneuver to the knight. But yeah, white find the tactic, felt the right moment, and
they're going for victory probably.
Yeah, he's in control.
Again, very interesting what's happening right now, open under 12, because also very uncomfortable for black. Black is the favorite in this game.
Okay, so both rating favorites, Marin,
on the first two boards.
Yeah, they are in big trouble. I would say the other position we saw was more difficult for the favorite, because having your king in the middle is oftentimes harder to manage than just having a pawn down, because there are many theoretical endgames where a pawn down doesn't mean you need to lose. You can still make a draw. So this position, there are many drawing chances for black, but in the other position it felt like checkmate will be delivered sooner or later. Okay, let's see board 3. How is the favorite doing
we
here?
have a Romanian player who's the underdog actually, Gales Randy Ioan, playing black. against Rozanski Mateusz from Poland. Mateusz with the white pieces is ranked number 7 in this competition, and Randy Galesh is ranked number 20. So let's see how the game is progressing.
Okay, we have a closed Sicilian. Knight c3, knight c6. The bishop is out early, trying to make the trade to get the double pawns. Black declines this, the bishop retreats. And here, just gonna fast forward to what's happening because this is mainline theory. Just go bishop g5, bunch of trades. Oh, what a cool move. Knight to c3. I wasn't expecting that, and I don't see that so often. The point is that you cannot really take the queen because I capture, and there's also a check. And then I'm coming back to take your bishop as well. So I need to take, and now I'm having some double pawns issues. Knight to g5, queen to e4, and yeah, queen to e2, rook e1, f4, and b4. Okay, and this is the position at the moment. It's hard for me to understand why he goes b4 to exchange this structure. Yeah, because we know in our times when the opponent had double pawns, you didn't want back in our days, the good old days, and the modern was still playable. And you go b4, you exchange this this pawn, and it feels like you're playing against your own plans. But okay, at the same time you open up the c file, and you're getting
I wanted to say maybe
c2.
he wants to play on the c2.
Yeah, I was just thinking that my coach wouldn't be happy with me exchanging one of my opponent's weakness. He was always repeating, okay, if opponent has a weakness, block it, attack it, but never change it.
And on the other hand, I would be very happy to get rid of the double pawns, as we all know.
Yeah, double pawns is never pleasant. And okay, bishop b3, black is still better because from afar you can confuse this bishop with a pawn because it's so inactive. It defends c2, but it just points out that...
but with the knight on d4, it's going to be a bit uncomfortable for white.
Okay, so maybe black's move is knight f5.
Knight f5, I would go with the knight f5.
Really good spot. The knight on d6 did his job, and now he can improve to d4. And we are talking a bit about that. When you're trying to find a move, there are no threats. You can ask yourself a question, okay, what piece can I improve? And in this position, black can improve his rooks on the d file, on the c file, but first you want to bring this knight to f5 because there's also some sort of threat with knight d4. Maybe you want to capture this bishop, maybe you want to take this pawn. So always think about improving your pieces unless there's no tactical ideas happening. So
some good chances for the Romanian player. Again, Randy Galesh, he's the underdog, and we'll see how he's going to progress in this game. But until then, we're going to move up to girls 14, which is our next category.
Can we stick here to this category because we have another El Clasico, Andrei Negran against Dragoș Leu?
Yes.
Just to see what's happening here. Andrei Negran, really famous player, under 12, Romanian. Dragoș, his arch rival. And yeah, let's just quickly go through the opening, some Moscow variation, and maneuvering trades. And yeah, let's just jump right into this position. Okay, white with the space advantage, and that's about it. Maybe going a5, maybe a3, knight c4, just the space advantage. I used to play Negran a lot in the Romanian Grand Prix that we had, like rapid games. I was always playing black and he was playing the Catalan, and he was really comfortable with the space advantage. And yeah, it feels like it suits his playing style more, this position. There are no threats right now, there's no clear way of breaking through, but just, yeah, it's playable, and yeah, just the space advantage is enough for white. And just one more second, I need to check on my student Matei Dodoi.
Of course.
See if we got any home preparation in. Of course not.
So tell us some insights before jumping in, because you didn't see the game yet.
Insights for Trin Dodoi. Okay, we prepared the line. I don't want to get into too many details, but it's not this line that we prepared, but hopefully he can use it in...
Was he taken, do you think he was taken by surprise?
Yes, yes, we weren't preparing this.
So we're move number 3, already a surprise. Let's
Yes,
see how this
Team Dodoi
progresses.
was out of book yesterday as well, was move 4 out of book, so we need to focus more on the first 5 moves.
Okay, that's a good tactic. So let's see how he was dealing. I think, as far as you mentioned, he's dealing really good with surprises.
Yeah, he's actually a good
Really well.
practical player. We're trying to get some opening theory in, but once he gets to unknown territory, his chess instincts are really, really well developed, and I'm confident he can find the solutions. But it's just funny that it's the second day in a row where we spend like 2 hours on preparation and nothing.
Move number 3.
Move number 3, it's out.
It's already a different game. So let's see.
Okay, Moscow variation. This bishop a4 move I know of, but I'm not that familiar with. And okay, c3, d4, knight to b6, and bishop g4. Okay, bishop g4 is good. And knight to d7 back. Yeah, I don't really get this maneuver. It feels like he should be striking with some sort of d5 from what I know of these positions. But okay, knight d7, e5, and okay, rook e8, and now takes on e5. And Matej is in the tank thinking what is the correct way of taking. Wow, 3 good options actually. Knight, pawn, queen. You probably don't want to get the bishop out yet. And it's tempting to take with this pawn. You're getting rid of this weakness, but at the same time, taking with the knight, you're opening up the g7 bishop, and you might go to c4. So it's interesting to see. The only thing that could be worrying is that the time situation is under 30 minutes for Matej and 1 hour for Paul Bolos. Is more comfortable in terms of time.
So he was a bit taken by surprise.
Yeah,
We
of
can
course.
see by the by time as well.
By time as
So
well.
we know we have this insight that he was taken by surprise, but this is backed up by the time management as well. Are you happy with this position?
No, I'm not happy. I was trying to think. I was thinking of this. I didn't know if I am supposed to say this, but I'm not happy with the way he played, because it feels like he was mixing up the plans, like rook c8, rook e8. It's not so clear his idea, and the fact that White manages to get this pawn center without like any compensation for black, it's not something I'm happy about. I would probably go e5 here and try to stop these positions, but yeah, we can maybe see and talk more about this after the break
Yes.
that we're just having.
We're going to take a short break and we're coming back in 10 short minutes.
Welcome back to the studio. We are here with Maria. I'm Kalin, and we are watching this interesting game by Matei Dode against Paul Bolos. And he was spending a lot of time for this decision. And in the end, he was doing this bishop e5 move, which I quite like because it's getting some dynamics into the game. Maybe the queen can jump to h4 because you're having some ideas with this bishop on f4.
So you predicted wrong, basically, because you said he has three options to take with
And it was the fourth one.
with a knight, with a queen, or with a pawn, and he chose the fourth.
Yeah, that's
And maybe the fourth
is the
the
fourth,
is going,
of course.
the fourth is going to choose him as well.
Yeah, I think he calculated something with this bishop c3 move, because if you manage to trade the bishop for the knight and get this weak pawn on c3, some of your problems are solved, and also the fact that the bishop is hinting on h2 and b2 as well it's something good. And white dodged this threat with knight to b5, trying to get away from this diagonal, and now Matei played a6, and it's now white to move. He's thinking if there are any tactical tricks. If not, just retreating on d4 should be enough, but yeah, it's a curious decision. I cannot really figure out right now what's happening inside his head, but I'm happy with the fact that it was a brave decision. It feels like he showed his personality. He didn't go for the common d takes e5 or knight e5. He tried to surprise the opponent. He tried to show his playing style, and that's what I like about him, and that's why we are working so hard for this tournament, for him to show his true potential. And
Very emotional game for you. We might come back to it later on today. But now I would say let's move on a bit to girls under 14. Before doing that, we have on YouTube another message, Pavle Tabatadze saying hi. We're saying hi back. Any questions, any requests that you might have for us, please let us know in the chat. And now let's move to board number 1 of girls under 14 in this European Youth Championship, where we have Lorenz Veronica playing with white against Kesaria Mgeladze, who's ranked number 5 in this competition. So this already tells me there were a lot of surprises in the first two rounds.
Okay, so Veronica is playing white. Her last move was queen to c3, trying to get away from this awkward pin. Now she just needs to move his king and her king, and she can move d5 or take on e5. And I was trying to think if bishop c6 is such a big threat, because I can just go rook c8, and I'm happy with what's happening here on the queen side. But we just need to point out that these knights are not that happy in their respective squares. They're sort of defending each other, but at the same time they're not finding active squares. They're not attacking anything at the moment. I'm talking about, of course, this knight on b8, because this knight on c6 has some damage.
The pawn on e5 also is kind of
pinned.
Exactly, kind of pinned. So maybe after
Takes on f4, there will be tactics with d5 once you move your king. So
king to h2, I would.
Some tactics along these diagonals. We see that these bishops have been off the board, the dark square bishop for both colors, and we can see that the queens are in charge here with the diagonals, and they are the ones delivering the tactical solutions here. And yeah, overall I would favor white, because I feel like the center is in control, king is slightly safer, the bishop is more active, and overall more pleasant for white. But also if black manages to get their knights into the game, this a4 pawn might be a good asset for the future endgame. Black also has some chances to fight back. It's far from decided. We just prefer white a little bit here.
That's true. Let's see how things progress on board number 2. We have Bernard Ines playing white against Sofia Moskalets from Ukraine. In this game, the black is the favorite. So playing black is a favorite Sofia.
Okay, Sofia is playing black. She is choosing the Taraj defense. I think we saw her playing the Taraj before in this tournament. And Yeah, the Tarrasch is considered highly dynamical opening for black. You're getting the Isolani pawn, but at the same time your pieces have really good squares. You have great attacking prospects, so it's an opening definitely worth considering for those of you who are trying to come up with an answer against 1 to d4. Okay, now we have a series of active moves by black attacking the queen, and now a surprising exchange. Knight goes to e4, attacks the queen, and then the bishop falls on h4, and now we have the bishop pair for black, which is definitely favorable. And yeah, this is the position right now. White has won a pawn, and we might think if it's tactics time or not. Unless there's no tactic here, you're just losing a pawn, and all that talk about this bishop pair is just crumbling, because we're only talking about what's your next move, what's the position like right now. We're talking a lot these days about strategic concepts, but on top of that, chess is all about concrete moves, concrete ideas, how you're calculating the knights, and you grab the pawn with white. Unless there's nothing right now, you're ending up with a pawn, and the bishop pair cannot compare with this pawn advantage.
At first glance, I don't see an immediate threat.
Yeah,
Maybe
me neither.
rook c2, but that's not. I wouldn't.
Rook c2 is a good idea. Again, it fails to tactical solutions. Knight to f6 check, and then we're exchanging the queens. Yeah, you cannot do that, but it's definitely a good idea. But it's just about the timing. You probably need to get your bishop to e5 first, and then you're indeed threatening rook c2, and this shows that after bishop e5, white is just in time with rook c1, protecting c2 square and offering another trade. So
so there's not an immediate compensation from black.
Yeah, no immediate compensation, and yeah, white is a pawn up, but we need to state that these kind of endgames are not so easy to convert. We have a 2 against 2 situation on the queen side and 4 against 3 on the king side. A lot of endgames are drawn, rook endgames are drawn. This bishop against knight endgame, sometimes it's easy for black to hold. So we have bishop e5 on the board, and probably the optimal strategy for white is to just go quickly rook c1, avoid rook to c2, and just keep going with the game. I was also looking at the move like queen b4, because we're trying to add another tactical layer to this, because once my queen is moved, I'm threatening knight to f6, discovered attack, grabbing the queen. I'm also threatening knight to b6, which is a fork. So we need to also take advantage of this knight on d5. So maybe rook c1 is this type of generic move that it's not really the best solution right now. This was our first instinct to just go rook c1, but now that we are looking to the position more, we're realizing that queen b4 actually is providing additional threats already. Knight b6, knight f6, and even knight e7, already 3 squares for the knight to go. I think queen b4 is
the winning.
Yeah, is the winning choice. But you see that's the process that's happening for a chess player. You first think of a move, but then if you start asking yourself the right questions of, okay, how can I make a threat? What are the tactical motives in the position? You might come with a better, more concrete solution. So
I think this category is one of the categories where I've seen the most surprises. Girls under 14. I was just looking at the list, and number 2 ranked in this competition has actually only half a point, and is playing.
Really?
Exactly.
Wow, that's completely unexpected. I mean,
very unexpected. And number 1 ranked has 1 point only. So
okay, so the favorites are already suffering defeats, and yeah, it's
in
all
this
about
game as well. For example, black is the favorite one.
Yeah, I think as we mentioned before, ratings are not so decisive when we're talking about chess players, unless it's the very top. When you're talking about 1500, 1700, the differences are so small, and anything can happen in terms of surprises. So
that's true, and we honestly like to see some surprises.
Yeah, we're always trying to root for the underdogs, to have the underdog story. Is one of the most exciting ones in sports, and we know that chess is a sport. Somebody has to win, but we as commentators are excited to see good chess, interesting tactics, and ups and downs during games. And hopefully some educational things for you guys as well at home, some strategic tips, some tactics that you can implement in your own games.
Let's progress to board number 3 because we have a Romanian player from your hometown, Alexia Andrieș, playing white against Yevgenia Toroptseva. And Alexia is the underdog in this game as well, so let's see how she's handling this.
Okay, we need to mention that she won yesterday against the rating favorite, and she's on 2 out of 2, really good play so far. She's playing against the King's Indian with the h3 variation. I believe it's called the Makogonov. And king to f1, king to g2, sort of castling move by move, but keeping the rook on h1, which is really important. Just to point out that if you castle and you go king g2 and then rook h1, it's 3 moves, but now with just 2 moves you get your king to g2 and your rook is still on h1, so winning one tempo is crucial when we're talking about this kind of positions. It's King's Indian, any tempo can be decisive. b5 met by b4. Wow, and this is actually some really cool chess. Black is attacking on the queen side, and white was supposed to continue the attack with h4, h5, decided to switch the plans and address the situation on the queen side because by calculation she decided that b4 is the best move, and yeah, this is a really mature decision. Knight to a4, offering some trades, and usually you want to trade this bishop on c2 because it's hitting his own wall of pawns, but she went rook b1, queen c3, and c5. Wow, black is really trying to close down this position. I can't tell if she's playing for a draw or maybe she's trying to trick Alexia into taking on c6 and then this knight will get into the game. But
I don't think, yeah, exactly.
Just rook b7, ignoring this en passant opportunity, and yeah, it feels like white is better again.
Yeah, having the edge, definitely.
And we can talk about this d6 pawn. This is a weakness. Right now, it's not maybe so easy to attack it, but in an endgame, once this pawn is gone, then c5 will be weak as well. So this is definitely something to look after in this type of positions. And I'm actually intrigued by the fact that white decided to switch from the king side to the queen side. I don't know if it's the best decision, but this is definitely a critical moment where you can either push h4, try to continue your attack, or address the queen side situation. So I would think this move number 18 is a decisive moment for the game, and this b4 is definitely a brave move. And now all the action has switched towards the queen side. Now rook b7, and yeah, we'll see how black is doing right now. I'm thinking if f5 is the solution, because you're always trying to come up with counterplay, but we can see how prepared white is for this break. This bishop is on c2.
I wouldn't at
Knight on
this stage
g3,
necessarily
pawns.
open.
It's almost
The
impossible. Yeah, almost impossible to play f5, which was your initial plan, your typical break. So you don't have f5. You're just left with the options of hoping for as many trades as you can, so you can finally make your f5 break. So it's clear to us what's happening. White has invaded with the rooks, and black is trying to come up with the right moment to just play f5 and hope for some counterplay on the king side. So really interesting debate. Both sides on the board are on, and only 16 minutes left for the player with the black pieces. I think we're gonna see some interesting things happening here.
We might come back actually to this game because I find it really interesting. Let's progress to open under 14.
Open under 14.
Where there were some turn of events as well. And actually on the first board we have a Romanian player. I think you know him fairly well, Felix Antonio Ilinca. He's a FIDE master ranked 2,358. He's favorite number 4 in this competition. He's playing black against Basilius Augustinas.
And we can definitely thank the gods of chess for being with us in this commentary, because we're having the same opening.
Exactly.
It was just 2 random games, and now we can see how black is handling the same line that we were just seeing. Okay, so castles e5, knight to a6, g4. Okay, and the approach was with f3. Why didn't go for this delayed castling? Wow, but we can see such a different approach, going a4 and then h5. It's a bit counterintuitive. If you think about it, you play h5, it's a pawn in front of your own king, but it's probably the right approach, because now white's king as well is a bit awkward in the center, so you're asking a question, okay, what are you doing with your own king right now? So yeah, I'm really excited. But actually we saw a great game by Felix yesterday as well, so we can only expect the best from him. And now knight f5, a typical sacrifice, and wow, things are actually on. This could be
up.
a grandmaster game easily. Takes, knight to h5. So to sum up, white has lost a piece but opened up the g file, and he's trying to bring as many pieces into defense as he can as quickly as possible. Knight to h5, defending this bishop, maybe queen to f6, bringing even the knight back is an option, because it's all about defending your king right now. And just white makes this quiet move, rook d1. I really, okay, let's switch the perspective.
I don't think this is going to be enough from white.
Yeah, but it's this kind of move that a lot of people are missing in tactics. Like, you're only considering candidate moves that include direct attacks, but sometimes
like f4.
Like f4,
I didn't
like
calculate it,
bishop
but
h6, like f6, bishop g5, things like this. But sometimes it's the quiet moves that bring you closer to a winning attack, but also at the same time makes life for the opponent harder, because the opponent was expecting some direct blow, like we said. And now with rook d1, you're trying to come up with another question, saying, okay, what is your move right now? Are you expecting me to hit you directly afterwards, or just maybe continuing with a slow play?
He's definitely aiming for d6.
There's definitely a tactic here. If you're just doing nothing, I can take on c6.
And there's a direct threat, yes.
And you can take this knight on c5 because this pawn is pinned. But the question in my head right now is, why not long castle? Why not do both? You're trying to protect the king as well, and you still go rook d1. So it's interesting why not long castle was the choice, but rook d1 is still good. Queen e7, of course, getting away from that file. Okay, and white went for this queen trade. It's interesting.
He might have felt a bit threatened by, I don't know, by black's position. He might have felt that the king right now is safer in the center. There's always some concrete threats, maybe of knight b3. If he would have long castle. Yeah.
Knight b3 is a thematical tactic there, because once your king is on c1, even at the cost of one piece, I want to open up that a file, because I know that damage will be made towards your king, so it's worth considering sacrificing the knight. But here, another counterintuitive decision, but a good decision, because we know from old theory that once you're attacking the king, you want to keep the queens on the board, because the queens will help you develop the checkmate ideas. But here, rook h6. This is cool. This is really cool. Rook h6 and knight to f6, and now the rook is stuck on h6. The point was, okay, hit the knight. Of course, this bishop is pinned, you cannot take it. If you move the knight away, I can take another pawn, and it will be 3 pawns for the piece, which is already enough. Knight f6, rook to g5, rook d8, and bishop c5. Bishop e2, and now f4. And this is the position. Wow, this is cool chess. This is really, really cool chess. And 28 minutes for Felix trying to come up with a solution. But it feels like white is the one that was always pressuring. And remember, it all started from this move 12 h5.
Exactly.
It felt like black is so creative, coming up with a counterplay on the king side, but it was white the one that decided to open up these files. And
actually, we have a comment from Chess Architect regarding exactly this game, stating that Felix mistook the order of the moves, and he played h4 before playing c takes to d5.
Okay, so c d5 was the actual theory, and then h4 was a mistake Might be that he sort of confused his opening preparation. I think we were talking yesterday about the comparison between memorization and understanding. Sometimes, remember, these players are preparing hundreds of lines just for one game, so it's common to confuse move orders and maybe mix some ideas. But we saw the impact immediately after h4. Knight to f5 was the sacrifice that allowed white to gain the initiative and control the game. Now after f4, what's black's next move? I'm curious to see. The threat is something like bishop to h5. You're just winning a piece right now. And it's so weird. So if I'm moving the knight away,
you're taking on f6.
I'm taking on f6. If I cannot move the king. If I'm moving this knight, I'm losing h5.
I cannot move any piece, basically.
Okay, so by elimination, it feels like there's not that many choices, actually. So takes on f4, you take on h5. Wow, it's completely unexpected.
How much time does Felix have?
He's 26 minutes left. Okay, what is theory telling us? Maybe doing a counterattack with knight to d7. This might be an option, but I think it's just losing to rook to h5. If knight c5, there's f6.
No, exactly.
So you need to go f6 after rook to h5. So let's roll back. Knight d7. I'm taking with the bishop on h5. So
and you cannot
f6. Yeah. So it feels like this works as well for white. Yeah, it feels like white has improved small steps, rook d1, take on d6, and now everything added up, and after f4 things have exploded, and there's...
I think there's no turning around. There's no turning that.
Yeah, but it feels weird. It felt like black was in control. It was fine. I initially kind of laughed at the sacrifice, saying, okay, I have enough pieces to defend. It didn't feel like the kind of sacrifice that would work for white, but amazing patience. Even rook d1 was such a patient move, trying to build an attack towards the center. And yeah, now transitioning to an endgame and still winning was so unexpected. And the king is still in danger, so even without the queens, your main problem is that your king has nowhere to even move. So yeah, that's some interesting chess. So we thank these players for
providing such a show.
Yeah, providing
such a high level,
really entertaining chess. And we saw how the same variation, it started off with the same moves as the game we are previously seeing. How different these two games are. They are complete opposites. The other one was more quiet, more strategic. This one is completely tactical. And yeah, another reason why we love playing chess and of course commentating here as well. Let's switch to board number 2. It's hard to leave this game because it's so entertaining.
It is, and
sometimes you need to let go.
Augustinas with white, he was the underdog in this game with almost 300 points of difference, which is quite a lot at this level. But let's move to board number 2. We have Sagmari Domokos playing against Gasarov Benik. Benik playing with the black pieces. He's the favorite in this game. He's from Armenia, and let's see the position. Okay,
let's just judge this position. We don't really...
Let's judge.
just look at this position. We don't need to go to the opening and so on and so on. Let's just focus on this position. So, okay, how do we evaluate any position? First, it's material count. We need to count the pawns, and by my calculation, black has a pawn up. I don't know if you agree with this.
Very good calculation.
But it feels like black has 6 pawns, sorry, and white has 5 pawns. Okay, so 1 pawn up for black, which means that the material count is favorable for him. But at the same time, we also have a king on g6, so random. But at the same time, safe. This king is safe, no threats.
No direct threats.
He's chilling on g6. And a queen with the knight against the queen and the bishop. We know from theory this cooperation is better. Locally, the queen and the knight are better than queen and bishop. So once we add up this details,
information,
yeah, we can conclude that
black is the clear favorite in this.
Black is clear favorite, close to winning, because now it's an endgame we can evaluate more precisely what's happening. There's not that much calculation happening, and yeah, if we were to view this from White's perspective, he might try to come up with some ideas against that king, because it's not that common that the king on g6 has no threat. So maybe bishop e2, bishop d3, changing the diagonal is an idea. Maybe even g4 to push this pawn to come up with another attack here against the king. And definitely a wrong strategy would be to trade any pieces. Trade the queens is just lost. Okay, you cannot really trade the bishop for the knight right now. There's no way. But maybe I would go bishop e2. I would say, even though I'm not that happy with that move, but at least I'm hinting at some threats. And yeah,
I agree, but still very favorable for black at this stage. Let's see what happens on board number 3. We have Rustam Rustamov playing against Antonios Kvav. Okay, you need to help me a bit.
Antonios Kvaradinas, something like that.
Just saying that
Sounds
because
Greek.
Cal is a fan.
I'm a big fan of Greek music.
Exactly, Greek music. And Antonios is the favorite in this game. He's in the rank number 8 in this competition against Rustam, who's ranked number 41.
Okay, some normal theory of the Caro-Kann. Even the queen on e6 looks out of place. It's just really common stuff. And now f5 hints at the fact that white is first with the attack, and bishop c5 takes, king h1, long castle. Good decision to run away from the danger to the other side of the board. Knight e2, king g2, and yeah, let's see what's happening right now. A bunch of trades, and we have the end game. Dropping g4, not ideal, and here we are with the position, another position where black is a pawn up, and this time some different pawn formations and some different pieces left. We have 2 rooks and knights on the board, and this d5 pawn, if we compare it to the other game, that d5 pawn was a passer. Here it's a weakness because this c2 pawn is still covering the c file. Okay, and we have rook e4, so there's some concrete problem solving to be made. If you trade, then this d pawn becomes huge asset. It's becoming a passed pawn, and you cannot really avoid the trade because your knight is attacked. So we are stating the problem that this pawn is weak, and now immediate solution with rook e5. And on the king side, okay, it's 2 against 1. It's easy to make a passed pawn as well there, and once 2 passed pawns will be made, it's decisive. So it feels like Antonios, is he from Greece?
He is.
Yeah, he's from Greece. Okay, he's going to win and probably celebrate with some beautiful Greek music after that. But we'll be back for this game. And let's go with...
I thought you said you wanted to say that we'll be back with some music.
Some music?
Some Greek music. I know this is something that we really like, but we'll see. During the break, I'm sure we can figure something out.
Yeah, okay. We'll find some musical solutions as well.
Let's progress. We're progressing
Is it girls
categories.
16?
Yes,
Okay.
We're switching to girls under 16. Things are heating up. It's round number 3 here at the European Youth Championship. And on this category we have Shipke Manon, again with playing
Shipke
black.
Manon is
You remember
first
her?
favorite?
Exactly,
Yeah, we
favorite
know her.
number 1 in this competition, playing against Zulepu Koko from Germany. She's favorite number 9 in this competition, playing white. So let's see how it's...
Okay, let's see this position. Let's evaluate.
Okay.
Not judge, but evaluate.
Judge. 3 seconds in, I like how
Feels
things
like
are looking like for
A
white.
lot of pawns, too many pawns.
Exactly.
Too many pawns for white, and okay, just a weak king, and that's it. It feels like a good trade-off. The king has some shelter on h3 if some danger occurs. So queen to b7, okay. Some problems to be solved because you don't want queen b1 to happen, but just queen d5 and
I was exactly
queen
thinking
d5
about
and
queen
it
d5.
feels like
There's
it's
not
kind
much.
of over.
Yes.
Because if you trade, I can even take with the pawn. You cannot take one. Oh, what a move!
Wait
what a move!
on. We were just going for the
Okay,
predictable one.
okay. Apply water to the burned area. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Rook g6 and it's GG. I think that's what they call GG. So Zhu is winning against Manon Shipke.
Yes. Another turnaround.
Another upset, but what a move! We
What a
just
move.
weren't thinking of this king side at all. We were just focusing on what's happening on the queen side. But Rook g6, there's no way to
No
defend
way.
the checkmate. You cannot trade because this pawn is pinned. The king will be in check, and
I think she will just resign.
yeah. But what a move!
What a move.
Is it move over the day? I guess.
Move of the day until now. But as we're progressing under 16 and under 18, we might see some great moves as well. But until now, I would say it's the move of the day.
Okay, and Black even resigned here. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's it.
So this is another turn of events. So Manon Shipke, favorite number 1, just lost to Zhu Lebu from Germany. Let's see how things are looking on board number 2. We have Manco Maria from Switzerland. She's favorite number 4 in this competition, playing against Klara Skotka from Poland.
Okay, let's see this position. It's Black to move. What do we see here? Some tension here with the queens. You're thinking, should I trade or not right now? The bishop is attacking the knight, ruining the pawn structure potentially. Bishop pair for white.
There can be a bishop exchange as well. If I take to g5, you take to a6.
Okay, okay, that's also
Another
interesting.
possibility.
And yeah, that's about it. Some decisions for Black. What would be the move here? Yeah, Queen g5 actually looks interesting because I want to trade this bishop. It feels like it's not doing much, and I want to get rid of this threat. So probably just trading and then trying to just jump the rook over to the d file. Just a normal solution. But maybe there's something more tactical going on.
As we could see, we went for some safe moves,
Yeah,
or the obvious moves, the obvious
And
choices.
we were surprised.
And we were pleasantly surprised. Granted, we don't have the time to calculate every position, but in this case, we can still judge some of them. The positions, I mean.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, so she traded,
She traded,
the
yeah.
queens.
She traded some quick decision. She was spending 4 minutes for this. It felt to us that it was a critical moment, but trading queens is a decent option, but actually, yeah, I don't really like this right now. I mean, your bishop is not doing much. There's no place for the knight, no square. If you go on d7, it feels a bit out of place. And yeah, you're just left with an endgame where white has the bishop pair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
might
would-
have gone
I would
with
have
the
delayed
trading
this.
on g5.
Yeah, trading on g5 was keeping some dynamical play alive. Take on g5, take on a6, and then even move like h5 was exploiting the fact that the white queen was out of place in a6, so it was a good time to start some pawn storm on the king side. But okay, we will see what's gonna happen. But I think bishop pair, better pieces will be enough for white here to convert this endgame.
Let's see the position on board number 3.
Okay, but
We have some interest. I think this is an interesting game because playing with white, Maria Siekanska is rated number 10, and she's playing against Agnesa Stepania, they're ranked number 5. So they're quite close when it comes to ranked or favorites in this tournament, and I'm curious to see what's going on the table, on the board.
Okay, so close encounter in terms of ratings. Let's see what's happening on the board. King to h1 was the last move, so now it's black to decide whether a sacrifice is possible with rook g2. Right now, probably not, because this knight is still defending by the queen, but a move to look out for. Maybe later on in the game there will be an opportunity for rook to g2, and now the knight is attacked, so you might think, okay, I have to move it. on c4. But okay, let's think of some tactical stuff. There needs to be something.
There needs to be.
There needs to be, of course. There. Even so, rook g2, you take knight g6. I'm attacking the knight. You have to take on g7. Then I'm taking with the queen on e4.
I don't have enough pieces.
Feels like you don't have enough pieces, but at the same time, in this position, black is an exchange up. When I was evaluating, I skipped this step of, okay, look at material count. So black is an exchange up, so you might give it up for this knight on e4, because the benefits of this is that after all these trades, white's queen is left on g7, completely out of the game, while white's queen is on e4, the knight is on g6. You can jump with the queen on e7, or even push the pawn on d3 to bring the rook. And this simplification makes it easier for black to get to the white king, because for now white's king is safe. It's defended by this bishop on g2, this knight on e4. So I would actually be really tempted to go for something like this. Yeah, because it's easier to figure out what's happening there than right now, where even a move like knight g5 is not so easy to meet, because there's this covered attack, there's ideas with queen to g8. So white has threats as well. So
of course.
Liquidating, I think, is actually a good option. And another moment where we can feel like it's critical, you need to make the right decision, you need to calculate your lines. You cannot just make a simple move where, okay, my knight is defended, I'm just moving it away and I'm not thinking about the consequences, or I'm not thinking about other options. So today we really dived into what is the mechanism behind choosing your move as a chess player. Oftentimes you see one layer of the position, maybe a simple attack, you're trying to defend or run away, but once you're thinking more about the position, when you're going into the depth, you're actually realizing how many possibilities you have and how useful having this calculation skill that can navigate you through all these options.
I think it's really interesting, and I'm curious to see if she's going to go for the exchange on g2. Curious to see, because definitely there's a threat there for black. We'll see. In the meantime, let's switch up a bit again, and let's see how Axel is doing on the first board. We're talking here about open under 16, and things are getting more and more. They should at least get a bit more complex.
Complex and also balanced, because the players are closer in ratings.
So open under 16, first board, we have Roman Dehtiarov from Ukraine playing against Axel Kvaloi. Axel rated number 1. He comes from Norway. We had him here in the studio as well. Great fella.
Yeah,
had some interesting and hard, I would say, first 2 rounds, but he managed to do a great job. So let's have a look at what he's doing today.
Yeah, and let's see if the game from yesterday impacted him in any way, because we remember he was 2 pawns down and he managed to turn the game around. And I'm curious to see if today will be he's been changing the strategy, or he's just gonna keep doing the same strategies as now. Interesting. Wow. I was just pausing for a moment because I had to take in the complexities here, because black has an exposed king and white has delayed the castling, so it's sort of a balance there. But meeting queen c3, it's always unpleasant. King e2 is the only move, because otherwise your rook will just fall, so you go king e2, and now the king is on f3. Definitely an interesting king walk. The knight jumps in, another check, and now the king is on g3. Wow, it's not every day that you get to see that on move 23, and especially after a Rogozin opening, which is definitely not known for this kind of positions. Okay, rolling back with the knight, let's try to understand this move, because it feels not optimal.
A bit unnatural, yes.
Yeah, maybe going knight c1, no, that's just going nowhere. If we're talking about knight squares, feels like c4 was a bit more natural to me, but okay, knight b3, and now queen f3. And it's black to move, and he needs to justify this knight on b3. There needs to be a plan behind it.
And we need to know.
And we need to know, yeah.
We need to know.
We're curious, this knight on b3. What's
because
the
knight on c4, then maybe d6 to e5 seems the more
normal options
exactly the more natural choices.
and even more opportunities. From c4 you can even take on a3 at the right moment. At least you have two good options, but from b3 it's like, what are you going to do? You go a5 and c4 then? It doesn't really make sense. You're losing some tempo. And yeah, the ideas could be related with maybe king e7 to check this king, because it's so tempting to just try to give just one check to this king on g3 because it's so close to the edge of the board, and you might be tempting to go for the checkmate. But for now, if we're talking about the harmony of the pieces, it feels like white's pieces are compact, are all working overtime to protect this king on g3, while black has started some maneuvers, but it's not so clear where these maneuvers are gonna end. And I'm curious to see how many minutes. Okay, Axel spent 15 minutes for this knight b3.
So there must be something to it, and we need to know.
Yeah, there needs to be something to it. And yeah, I think we're just gonna find out later on.
Let's see in the meantime if he's not. So did he move?
No, he didn't make a move.
He has only 12 minutes left. Interesting. What move are we? 25?
26. So not that many moves left to be made with this this particular time control. And yeah, I think we can move on to
move to
the other two
board
boards.
number 2. Gasparia and Eric playing on board number 1, playing white against Diego Matias Pino. Diego is ranked number 3 in this competition, so he's a favorite in this game, and he's playing black pieces. So let's see.
Okay, this position that we have in front of us, let's see the material count first. So it's 6 pawns for black and 5 pawns for white. So black is a pawn up. King safety, if we're talking about the king safety, it feels like white's king is a bit in danger, even though more pawns in front of him, but some knight g3 stuff with a pin, direct threat. And in terms of the quality of the pieces, it's definitely black.
Black.
Yeah, we can see it. The pieces are working together. If you're asking me what this knight is on b4 is doing, I think we need to ask Axel, because he's the one with the knight maneuvering. And now it's just about finding a way to deal with this knight g3 threat. And there's one way of going king g1, which is okay, normal. And then you can just roll your rook over to d1, but okay, some rook e1 problems and the back rank issues. Okay, so king g1 might be the only move. But after king g1, probably just rook g4 is good, or even rook e1. Remember, black is a pawn up, so even a strategy that includes...
Oh, and he actually played.
Okay, we have king g1 on the board, and even a strategy that includes trading pieces is enough for black right now. I wouldn't be that tempted to take this pawn on c4, even though material count is important in chess. I don't want to give so much time for white to regroup, like knight d3, knight e5. I'm not that happy with my own king as well, so I would just go for rook e1. I'm happy with the pawn advantage. Let's start trading pieces and see where the end games go with this. So rook e1, trading one piece, I think it's enough for the small advantage here that black can have.
Definitely black has an advantage. I'm very curious about board number 3 because we have a Romanian player.
Oh, Alexandru Săchilaru. Okay.
Yes, playing white. He's an underdog.
Good friend of mine, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're going to be invested. He's playing against Jakub Szyman, who is ranked number 5 in this competition. He's a FIDE master from Poland. So let's see how Alexandru is doing.
Yeah, we were teammates for the last 2 years in the Romanian national team championship, and he was a key player for our team. Really professional junior. I admire his playing style and also his attitude towards the game. Really professional and dedicated. Okay, we saw this Rui Lopez. He grabbed the pawn, but unfortunately he lost the bishop pair, and yeah, I think they liquidated towards a equal endgame. And here I can see the game has ended. It is a draw.
Okay,
but I'm thinking
that's a good result for Alexandru.
It's a great result. He was the underdog here. Jakub Szyman was the favorite, and I'm just curious to see who proposed the draw. Okay, so it's Alex who offered a draw with this repetition. And let's try to think about this position as well. Was there any more to it? So first of all, I'm not forced to go king d6, I can go king e7. But how do we judge this knight against the bishop situation? We know that the bishops work better with the rooks, and it feels like also this bishop has a target on e4, while the knight has this outpost on c5 that might be annoying, but at the same time it doesn't feel like there's any direct attacks with this c5 square. I think the position is just equal based on the fact that the pawns are symmetrical. Even though the pawn on e4 is on a white square, I don't see any way of taking advantage of this. There's no way to open additional files, no other weakness. So while we're on this position and right before the break, we need to state this famous endgame principle. If you're trying to win any game where your opponent has one weakness, we all know you have to come up with a second weakness in order to win the game. That's the way that the old classic have teach us, that you need to come up with a second weakness in order to actually win the game. One weakness is oftentimes not enough. Either a second weakness or a second asset of the game, either a passed pawn or an activated rook and stuff like this. And in this position we see there is one weakness, which is the pawn on e4, but at the same time black cannot find a way to create a second weakness based on the pawn formation. And yeah, the draw was probably the right result here in this game. And yeah, good result for Alex, and I hope to see him on the live boards playing brave chess. And yeah, this wasn't an easy draw, he also fought, but this position, there's no way to break through for both sides.
I think that's a really good result. After the break we might come back and stay a bit on this under 16. We have more Romanian players playing, I think, on the live boards. But either way, we're coming back with under 18, both girls and open, which we expect to be quite well, unexpected, I hope.
Yeah, it will be the tough clashes here. Under 18, the most interesting category. I'm curious to see the games, but definitely after a short break, and we'll be back here at 6 o'clock.
See you in a bit.
Bye bye. Okay, hello. We are back with the last hour of commentary of today. It's day 3 here in Mamaia, the Ibiza of Romania. I'm joined by the lovely woman FIDE master Maria Orsente. I'm FIDE master Kalin Gheorghiu, great talent of Romania, now retired and happy to be here commentating with you guys. Before the break, we were talking about some Greek music, and I had the chance to sing Palamakia, one of my great favorite song from Greece.
Hopefully we're going to get to hear you singing as well, but it's only day 3, so I know that we're going to be full of surprises. This is my hope for us.
Okay, let's jump straight into the games after one second. And yeah, if we're talking about music, I need to reveal that I love playing the guitar, and especially Ed Sheeran songs. So if any of you have any requests by Ed Sheeran, we can work our way around to...
And a guitar, because we keep looking for a guitar.
Yeah, here in Mamaia.
Exactly. So if anyone has any suggestions, we're very open. I feel it's going to be like more of a talent show.
Yeah.
At some point.
At some point we need to bring out the musical talent. But for now, we will gonna see the girls under 18 category.
Still talent, a lot of talent.
Yeah, but mainly
the chess one.
Yeah, the chess one. The one that actually matters, that's why we're here for, is the European Youth Chess Championship. We're gonna find out who the best players of Europe are. And here we're watching the game between Zeynep Kftic and Filipa Pipiras. I think Filipa is a rating favorite. We've seen her before.
We've seen her a lot. She's playing a strong first board, still 3 days in a row. What's the situation?
Situation is exchange sacrifice, so we are in at the right time. Rook takes d4. If you capture back, there's rook h7 and you're winning the knight. And I'm curious to see how this skirmish is gonna end up, because it feels like the king on f7 is weak. And once I'm going with the rook on h7, I'm gonna get 2 bishops for 1 full rook. And by my judgment, this should be enough for white's advantage. And only 5 minutes for Filipa. She needs to decide where to move the king. Of course, g8 is the only spot. If you go to e8, then there's rook e7, there's a fork. You're gonna lose the queen, and that's it for this game. And then king g8, rook e7. You need to find a way to move your queen around, probably a2. And unless there's any direct threat of white's king, for example, some queen b1 checkmate ideas, white will be better. So just hide the king away and win with the material advantage.
So we might see some interesting turnarounds as well in this third round. We already saw in the 14 under 14 category, a lot of them. So let's see how we progress on board number 2.
Okay, we have board number 2.
Ayan. I'm going to let you.
Ayan. Yeah, I did the trick yesterday.
2.
I just said Ayan playing with the white pieces and Juliet with the black pieces. I think, is it Ayan the rating favorite? I think we saw
Ayan
her.
is the rating favorite. She's rated number 2. You guys have her name on the screen because we don't want to butcher so many names in one day.
And okay, white pieces for Ayan. Equal pawns according to my calculations, 5 against 5. Rook knight against rook knight. Now the rook is attacked. You need to find a move. Okay, you're probably gonna roll with the rook somewhere, or d7 to protect f7. That's the right approach. And we mentioned pawn islands in day 1. For those of you who are here from day 1, we mentioned that the more pawn islands an opponent has, the weaker their pawn structure is. And here it's clear to us that white has 3 pawn islands while black has only 2, so black has the better pawn structure. It's only that this king is worrying for black, because this king is going to enter the action via a4 and probably attack a5. So we'll see this mix of elements. Statically speaking, black is better, but in terms of dynamics, it's white who has the more active pieces. And yeah, apart from that, just equal endgame. And if we transition to a rook endgame, this will be probably a draw.
Which again, it might come as a surprise. Juliet is ranked number 11 in this competition. This might be a very good result for her today. Let's see what's going on board number 3. We have Katarina Kater playing with white, women FIDE master from Austria, playing against Vicar Martina. Quite solid so far, because we can see on the first 3 boards there are still the first 3 favorites playing. That means not a lot of surprises in the first 2 rounds, but let's see what this round number 3 is going to bring, because I can already sense, and we already saw quite a few surprises today.
Yeah, indeed, the underdogs stepped up their game and actually delivered some upsets, some real upsets today. And here Katarina is with the white pieces, and she manages to win this pawn on d4, bishop takes d4, and I'm wondering if we can take advantage of this spin over the 4th rank, going rook e4, and it's not so clear to me what's the answer here. After rook e4, I'm attacking the bishop, and if you lose, this bishop is just over. But at the same time, it felt like there's no other move. If you go just bishop c1, I'm going to go d3, and this passed pawn will be decisive. So bishop d4, rook e4, and we need to come up with a concrete solution for white, otherwise they're just going to lose the bishop. And the thing that comes to mind is, okay, I realize that the bishop is lost, but I'm trying to think of what other ways I can provide counterplay with. And the reason behind this is that the pawn on c6 is weak, and I can take on c6, and then I can start rolling my pawn. Even though I'm losing a bishop, this pawn on c5 is still dangerous, and I think the game is far from over, even after rook e4, queen to c6. And black is thinking if there's any other way to work around this. Maybe queen g4 is another solution, or queen to e4. The fact is that the pawn on c6 will be defended, and I'm still gonna take this bishop. Actually, no, I'm mistaken. Queen e4, I can just take on g7, and the queen is defended. So the only way to take advantage of this spin is by rook to e4. Okay, and that's it. And in terms of time, black has only 14 minutes, and white has 3 minutes. So white is the one in time trouble, trying to complicate the game. And yeah, it feels to me rook e4 is gonna be winning on the spot.
And there's still 9 more moves to be made.
Yeah, 9 more moves.
Let's see just a couple more seconds if black is going to play rook to e4.
What else? Is it g takes h4 also a move? Not really. I trade, and then I'm picking up this h4 pawn via the queen on a4. So it's not that you need to find a tactic, it's just about there's no other moves, really. There's no that many choices.
Exactly.
And rook e4 played, and yeah.
There are not many options.
We can stick here with this game because there's only 3 minutes left. All right, queen to c6 immediately. We are talking about this. This is the only way to provide counterplay. And here I'm curious to see what capture black decides. If you're going with the bishop on d4, you're bringing another attacker, but at the same time, you're losing this pawn on h6. So I think this trade is not that great, because then your king becomes weak, and you might be worried about the eventual perpetual checks that white might have. And by perpetual check, we mean a continuum of checks and the game ending in a draw. And this is a scenario where black wants to avoid this. So probably...
But I'm not sure.
You're not sure there's perpetual?
No.
Okay, so bishop d4.
I don't see where.
Okay, bishop d4, queen h6. Probably in the near future with queen g5, queen d8 stuff. It's not... You're right. At the moment, there's no perpetual. Usually there should be on the light squares like e8, h5, but they are completely covered. But I wouldn't really drop this pawn on h6 because it's a great defender, and I want my king to be safe, especially in time trouble. Having a safe king is really important, because threats on the kings, we all know, are hard to come up with defending solutions, and especially with this position where I'm a piece up, I can steer the game into an endgame. There's no need to weaken my king anymore. So I would go rook d4.
Probably.
And just
Let's see, she's still thinking a bit. Let's stick a bit with this, as you mentioned, because it's quite interesting. I think there are 8 more moves to be made until additional time is being given to the players.
Yeah, so...
Are we at move 32?
Yeah, we're move 32. There are 8 more moves until move 40, where they get 15 minutes more, so there's more time to think about your decisions. Every move you make, again, 30 seconds, so you never run out of time, but there's always that pressure that you need to come up with the best solutions under 5 minutes right now. We're talking about 4 minutes for white or 12 minutes for black. It's really, really intense. And yeah, as we said, bishop d4 or rook d4, there's only 2 moves in these positions. You need to capture that bishop on d4, and she decided to go with the bishop d4, going for your approach. So the reasoning behind it is, okay, you lose your pawn on h6, but you're gaining another attacker, and you might have your own threats as well. For example, queen to h6. I was thinking of a move like rook to g4, threatening queen to f3, and you're closing in on white's king, and this queen on h6 is wandering around on the king side, but it's not actually helping with the defense on the king side, so we might actually see a winning attack for black against the king. And
let's see, what do you think would be the best move after, let's say, queen takes to h6?
Queen takes to h6, rook g4 is the one I was thinking about, and at the same time, probably just no, rook h4 doesn't work.
No.
Take on h4 with a
Don't do
pawn,
that.
check, and yeah, if you take on
We
h4,
cannot do that. We cannot lose in one move.
if you go rook h4, you go queen g5, and then you take on h4 as well. So that's pretty bad. I was blundering a rook in one move, so please don't try this at home.
Do we have some tactics? Is it tactics time?
Tactics? Yeah. After queen h6, it's always tactics time, Maria. But in this moment, there's no...
Great point.
It's always tactics time. But yeah, queen h6, I just feel like rook g4 is the move I would do, just because it feels logical to attack this g2 pawn that's weak and bring the queen over to f3. And at the same time, what I like about rook g4 is that it's a multi-scope move. I'm attacking g2 but also defending g5, so keeping an eye on the things we mentioned, that you need to protect your king against potential checks. So yeah, queen h6, I would just go rook g4, and it's white again who needs to find a defense, but under 2 minutes right now for Katarina.
Almost, because I'm keeping eye on the time as well, and I'm starting to get nervous. It's like I'm playing.
You're feeling. How are you in
2 minutes.
time trouble? How are you handling time trouble or trying to avoid it? How was your strategy when you're playing professionally?
I think there's not a lot of players who do not avoid.
Unless you're Bogdan Dak,
Unless you're Bogdan,
who is a world-class time trouble expert.
Exactly, unless. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I made the best choices in time trouble. And actually, she played queen h6.
We have queen h6 on the board, and now it's time for black to decide.
And very interesting, something that I remembered from the national championship, something that happened to me, and I'm not very proud, but you know, it's always story time, and we try to provide as much educational bits and pieces where we can. But I lost because of the time at move 40.
Oh, okay, you lost on time. Like you had one more move to make and you just lost on time.
I lost the medal back then, and it was just very, very, very hard. She played
rook g4 is on the board.
Exactly what we discussed. So
it's
the obvious moves. If we can see the table, the board maybe on screen as well.
It's interesting that black had a choice to spend some time here or keep pushing against white's time trouble. Usually the right decision is to take your time yourself, but at the same time, playing a fast move like rook g4, which is maybe not the best move, but a decent one, you're putting additional pressure against the time for white, and already under 2 minutes again. She gained 30 seconds, but these were gone.
I think this is something that she calculated when she decided to take on d4 with the...
Really? You think? Oh,
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, this
That's
makes
my
sense.
hunch.
Yeah, because you need to address this. This is the most important thing. What happens after queen h6? So you're right, you need to have a solution already when you decided to go bishop d4. So she used that calculation again in this move 33. Now under 1 minute for white, and if we can come up with a solution to defend, the threat is simple. It's queen to f3 hitting g2. You cannot push up onto g3 because of the spin, and you'll just lose the pawn. Probably queen to c6 back is the only way to defend, but then
I take to h4.
I take on h4, and
the threat is still there with h3.
Even h3, yeah. But we might see a losing position for white as well. I mean, there might be no solutions at all. And apart from queen c6, there's
50 seconds, Cal.
Yeah, time is ticking.
50 seconds.
Time is ticking, and definitely that's where the game is decided, when there's time trouble. We didn't have that many situations with time trouble these days, but now that we're sticking to this game, we can see the impact that time has on a chess game. There's only 30 seconds left.
30 seconds.
And you need to come up with a move. You need to avoid checkmate ideas with queen f3.
Or you're going to resign.
Oh no, that's not the good scenario. If you resign,
in this position.
If you resign,
what would you do?
I would go
what
queen
would
c6.
Cal do?
Yeah, the FIDE master, the retired FIDE master, will go queen c6, and then
Okay.
take on h4,
What would you do?
and then okay, this is hard. Okay, she took on g5, and queen f3 is met by queen h2. Okay, okay. But maybe some bishop e5 there, and it's
So she moved when she had 7
7 seconds left. And now
Can you
she-
imagine the pressure?
yeah, depression is real. The pressure is real, not depression.
The pressure, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Intrusive thoughts are winning again.
exactly.
But yeah, the thing is, just making the move can sometimes be difficult, you know, reaching the clock with only 1 second left. But here she had 7 seconds, and she was lucky to get the move. H to g5, and we're probably going to see queen to f3. The defense is queen to h2, and then even a quiet move like rook h5, like rook g5 would be enough for black to win. Shall we move to another game?
Yes, actually, let's move, if we can, to board number 4 if we have live, because we have
Okay.
Emma Obada, one of the best junior players from Romania, playing against Sofia Blochin. And Emma Obada is playing white. She's the favorite in this game, and overall she's ranked number 6 in this competition.
Okay, she went for the English attack against the knight off, which is one of the best options out there. The knight goes to d5, implementing this pawn on d5, and now favorable trades and some repeating moves, but she decided not to repeat. Goes to g5, and yeah, okay, let's just jump right into what's happening right now in
Let's
the
do that.
position. Queen to e1. Okay, the position has changed slightly from where we last saw it. The thing is, king is on e8, and there are threats of discovered attack. So let's see what's the move here for black. Black decided to get one pawn to f4, saying that I can block your discovered attacks with my rook on e4. And there's no clear way for white right now to come up with any ideas. But what I would do is probably something like knight to c6. Feels like the pieces are getting closer to the king. But at the same time, I feel like my rooks are not reaching their full potential, and I'm trying to come up with ways to get them out. Okay, bishop f5 might be decisive actually. You're covering this square on e4, that's a check, and if the king moves away, now you have knight c6 with a check, and you're bringing the knight at the right time. And if the king goes this way, might be some trouble, even bishop to g6 followed by queen to e6. You pick up this knight later on, and the king is in great danger. So
I don't know if you can actually play. Can you play knight to c6? Because I might take, and then
Yeah.
I might take to f5.
yeah, I was thinking about this, and then I'm going rook d6, and finally my rooks are getting to the game. Indeed, you are getting 2 pieces for a rook, but I feel like my rooks are more active there. Okay, and king f7 feels a bit off to me.
Same, unnatural.
Bishop to g6 is such a clear move. I can take, and if you recapture, there's a check. There's a rook to g6, and I don't see a way for your king to,
Same here.
yeah, to save itself
Unusual, I would say. They're in.
Yeah, it's
time
mutual
trouble
time
as
trouble,
well.
but it's still 5 minutes. I mean, it's not 30 seconds. They're still having enough time to calculate, but at this thing, this stage of the game, there's also fatigue, there's also
Of
nerves, so you can definitely
We're
understand.
approaching. The players are playing for 3 hours and a half at this time, so you can imagine.
Yeah,
What they must be
it's
going
tough.
through.
It's tough.
I'm very curious if Emma is going to capture on g6.
Yeah, I don't think this is actually the best move. I think Emma showed with bishop f5 that her calculation are on point, so maybe she can find something even better. Bishop g6 was just a simple solution where you can
At
win
the
a
first
pawn.
glance.
And yeah, at the first glance, but I'm definitely confident that she can find even a better move in this position and sort of convert this attack into something concrete, either material advantage or more active pieces, some concrete asset, because oftentimes this is what happens when you're attacking. Okay, she goes bishop d3, which is probably a better move than what we suggested, hitting the rook and leaving this rook undefended, and then some new tactics might appear with some double attacks lurking in the air. So I like bishop d3. It's also a move that makes black think, should I go c7, should I go c8? So you're giving your opponent the choice, and if she's going c8, bishop g6 comes with even more damage, because after queen e6 this rook will drop on c8, so a tiny trap there. And again, we notice that Emma is playing great chess. She's not going for the most obvious choices, she's trying to add more layers to her game, so that the opponent has a harder time to come up with defensive moves.
And that's definitely always great to see. Let's progress to open 18.
Okay, we're going with
We're
the
really
open.
excited to see what games we have prepared. Before that, we received a very, I would call, sweet comment on YouTube from Manik. Obviously a fan from Armenia, and I think from Armenia as well. Armenia has a really great delegation here. There's quite a lot of players, and actually I'm very excited to see some supporters of Armenia on the live chat. So this is great to see.
Okay, so the message was let's go Armenia, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Yeah, welcome to the chat. And yeah, definitely great delegation here, Armenia, and great country in terms of chess heritage. So Armenia, huge respect for their impact on the world of chess. And here we're with the game of Elham Abdaouf.
So once again, we're on under 18
under
open,
18 and
board number 1.
just 3 pawns.
Abdaouf Elham, rated
Just-
number, it's the first rated number 1 in this competition against Luca Filip from Poland.
Yeah, this is just
Ooh.
straightforward endgame,
Yes.
easy to judge for us. Just
Easy.
a simple observation. If it were for a
We're just
rook-
counting here.
Yeah, we're just counting, and we can see there's 11 pawns up for white. Oh no, there's only 3. Sorry, my calculations were not correct. But the thing is, the rooks were not going off the board. But what I want to say is that some rook endgames with the pawn in H and F might be a draw. Just for people at home to take this into account. It's some endgames with the rooks, even if you're 2 pawns up, can be theoretical draw. And this is a detail that players need to know before entering in this kind of endgames. But it wasn't the case. Black resigned here, and we congratulate Elham for this amazing win.
Moving to board number 2, this is a game that we had a
It was
look at.
that request we had from
Exactly.
Chess Architect, and it ended in a draw. Okay, let's see where we left it. Bishop c3. Okay, white manages to win this pawn, and maybe winning a lot of pawns and then trading the bishop for the
Yes.
h pawn was the optimal strategy. And now we can see why the game is going to a draw. The knight with the 3 pawns are enough to form a good defensive strategy against the rook and the king. And okay, this all makes sense now. It felt to
Yes.
us that black was the one in the driver's seat, but now after the way the things unfolded, we realized that white had a clear plan all the way. And yeah, amazing opening preparation by Nikolaos. He was spending close to 2 minutes for the 20 moves, which means that he studied this position previously. And yeah, the fact that he made the draw with a rating favorite quite easily, I would add, shows us that his potential is great, and he's fresh for the game tomorrow, and he might surprise us with new opening ideas that we're eager to see.
That's true. This is really exciting. I think that was one of the most exciting openings that we've seen today.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a big opening preparation. 20 moves of preparation, queen sacrifices. We had everything in that game, and it started off with a 4-knight Sicilian. And for those of you who want to study, definitely a good game for this line. Let's go to board number 3. Here we have Augustin Droyin against Eric Shakrian. Okay, we
Armenia. So Armenia on board 2,
Okay,
Armenia
let's-
on board 3 as well. Augustin is the third favorite in this competition, international master with a FIDE ELO of 2,478.
Okay, this is a typical position for the English attack with the a5 variation. Black is trying to push the pawns on the queen side. White is trying to defend against this attack, and we're just gonna see what happened. Okay, after d5, it's clear to us that black is the one who has the initiative. This knight was hanging at some point, but you cannot really capture it because you're opening up this file, and things are not so easy for your king. So takes pawn to d4, and yeah, I think the dynamics worked out great for black here. And here takes, and yeah, rook a6, some small tactic. He cannot take the queen because rook a1 is checkmate, and tactics time, and also resignation time for white, unfortunately. Good news for Armenian fans, but also to point out that great game by black. I mean,
Great
flawless
game.
and
again, the underdog.
the underdog.
So
Okay,
look at
Augustin
the
was
surprises, because Augustin is rated number 3 in this competition, and there's more than 100 ELO points between them, which at this level is quite a lot. I would
it means more experience, more diversity in your game. But as we noticed today, it was, I think, the underdog day today.
Exactly.
A lot of upsets, and now we're seeing it's day 3. We're already seeing the duels are starting to become more balanced, and the chess has become more concrete, more tactical, and more interesting.
I would say let's move to board number 4, because we
Romanian?
have a Romanian player. Yes, we have Șerban Cristian Ștefan playing against Kazar Babazada. Kazar is ranked number 5 in this competition with an ELO of 2,463. So in this case, well, the Romanian player is the underdog. So let's see.
Okay, Șerban went for this Berlin variation, and yeah, he probably had not that many problems here with black. Normal position. I'm curious to see if there are any moments where he could have pressed for more. Takes, probably not. It was equal all throughout the game, but it's good news for his fans that he made an effortless draw against a higher rated player. I think that's a good sign, and it feels like now he's pressing. His queen is more active. He's trying to come up with ideas. The king goes to d1. Fortunately, there's no tricks, no sacrifices. Once the queens are off the board, this endgame is easily drawn for white. But okay, solid game by Șerban. He employed the Berlin defense. It's really professional approach, and he maybe is getting more energy for tomorrow, where he's having the white pieces and he's trying to go for a win.
But overall, great game and great result, I might add. So congrats for that. We also have Cosmin Stepanenko on board number 5
against Eitan Rosen, the one who made an amazing sacrifice yesterday. And let's see what happens. It feels like the game has ended already. Eitan is a couple of pawns up, but the problem is you cannot defend this checkmate idea. Unfortunately, let's just roll quickly through the opening. We had Rossolimo Sicilian. Let's see if there are any critical moments that we can comment on with some valuable lessons, and we can see some interesting ideas developing. F4 before castling is interesting. Now castles, rook to e1. We can spot already there are opposite color bishops. It feels like this bishop on b2 will be the one that's inferior, but as we saw the progression of the game, this is the one that decides the game. This bishop on b2 goes to a3, attacks c5, and now it feels like, oh, wow. We're already seeing some class. Look at this. So the king is on g1, and he has some troubles with this g2 square. You don't want to get checkmated, so your queen has to be there for a while to defend, and he decided to transfer his king all the way to b2, save square, and then start to come up with new ideas. And I think this was the decisive plan. What a king run. Reminds us of the famous Nigel Short game when he made a king run from g1 to h6.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's a famous one. This one was on the defensive side of things, but still impressive. Still impressive. So Eitan is showing us amazing chess, I would say.
And he might be, after this round, the third round, first ranked.
Here first,
here,
with
exactly.
3 points. Okay.
Very interesting, the rank after, well, before this round, Șerban was
number one. Okay,
which is always good to see. After 3-4 rounds, we're going to present you with the ranks as well, because there's more, well, points, more happening, and we want to keep you updated on everything basically that's going on. The competition is really tight, and again, each day we see more and more surprises across all categories.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of upsets in all categories. And definitely we can feel that the chess has changed, it's more mature. Maybe the time trouble is kicking in, the games are more complex. the kids have to think more about their decisions, and we get more and more different positions. Now, as we went through all the categories, we can just freestyle right now. Maybe go back to some of the positions that we mentioned. I want to go back to my student. That's first.
When you said freestyle, I thought you were going to sing us something.
Not right now.
Right now, okay.
I still enjoy chess more than singing, but I'm curious. Okay, this is a loss by Matei, which is painful. I should have started singing something rather than going.
It's never too late, but we're going to be discussing about this.
Okay,
next days.
I'm open to any discussion.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, but I'm curious to
Let's see the
what
game
was.
progression.
We were leaving this position after Bishop E5, and we weren't sure about this decision, if it's good, bad, but it was interesting. So let's see how it progressed. Oh, okay. This is not something you want to see as a coach. He goes Bishop E5, and then after.
Just close your eyes. Don't look at it. No. It's good that you're doing this live, so there's not a lot of reaction that you can show.
Okay, so this is interesting. So he goes Bishop E5, Bishop G7, and now Bishop E5 back. That's I don't remember teaching this lesson of just dance with the bishop, but okay. The point is that F3 was a weakness, but at the same time, yeah, that's not how chess works. You need to have an active plan. You need to make some threats, and once the queens are off the board, this bishop is just awkward on G3, and White just picked up a lot of pawns. Knight on C4 is not hanging because the bishop on B7 is attacked, but yeah, takes, and a lot of pawns were taken. Okay, tough day for Team Dodoi, but we can still recover from that. I am sure that we'll have a meeting tonight and rearrange the things. At least keep the bishop on G7. That would be the first takeaway. Okay.
How do you think his mindset is after this loss?
It's tough. I mean, he's a great player, but it's hard to recover after this kind of game. I'll just talk to him and see what happens. But yeah, we're still supporting him there. And tomorrow there will be no live boards for him. At least I can get some emotional rest. I don't need to suffer live. Okay, what else do you have? Let's go to...
I want to see something from under 14 because I feel that
Alexia Andrieș, maybe?
Maybe.
She made a draw in that game.
Okay, let's see that.
Okay, we left it off at...
Oh, so that was a draw because we were rooting somehow for White in this position.
Yeah, we were arguing that White is the only one that can be better because the pawn structure is better, more space. And so, okay, the queen entered on F4, and I think that was the problem. After queen F4, there are some threats, like queen C1 to invade, and you have to roll back with your bishop, and then they just repeated moves. Okay, so in the end, the king side had its say in the overall game. Things opened up here, so it wasn't so easy to defend as the queen rolled over to the queen side, but I would say that it's a great game by Alexia. She did what she had to do. She tried to close down the king side, and she was winning on the queen side, but unfortunately the king wasn't safe enough for the full point, but still the draw is a good result, and yeah, we're happy with this. And I want to go to that Felix Antonio game because it was the same opening as Alexia, and
very different.
And there was this moment. Okay, unfortunately, Felix lost this game, but we were trying to come up with a move after pawn to F4. What happens here after takes on F4, bishop H5, knight to E4. He tried, but too late to apologize, as the song says, because you're
not a lot of
Yeah, take on F7. What's the point if you take just rook H7? Wow. Yeah, but this Augustin Basilius, he just played the perfect game.
He smashed this game.
Thanks to Chess Architect for pointing out that Felix he mixed a bit the move orders. And yeah, that's the moment where things happened.
Went south.
Yeah, they went south. He should have gone C takes to D5 and then H4. Just switch the move orders, and H4 is met by knight F5, and then this sacrifice was decisive for the game. Okay, for Felix fans, it was a tough day, but he didn't show us that he's not a fighter. He fought it until the very moment, but unfortunately the nature of the position didn't give him many chances after this sacrifice.
After that sacrifice.
And White played a perfect game, so might as well say that this win was very deserving of White, and yeah, he can still continue the tournament with high hopes, because chess-wise he made just a slight memory mistake. It wasn't his lack of chess understanding or his calculation. It was just a slight memory.
Let's see maybe what happens on board number 2. We have Agasarov Benik from Armenia playing black against Sakmari Domonkosh. I don't know if it ended or not.
Yeah, win for Armenia, for Benik Agasarov. Let's see where we left this game off. Yeah, it was that end game we were discussing, that the black is a pawn up, the king is on g6, it's safe, and there were not that many things we were worrying about as black. And yeah, White tried g4, but it wasn't enough. Black just slowly improved, and yeah, I think there was d4. Okay, and White resigned here, which is understandable. You cannot really stop this pawn. There's no physical check available here, and Agasarov comfortably cruised to a draw. And board number 3, Rustamov made a draw with Antonios, and we have a queen in game, which is actually really interesting. I'm curious to see where this one was left off. Is it, wow, is it the same pawn structure? It's similar, but this says similar pawn structure. Ah, no, it's just the same game. It's a transmission error. No? Okay, it's interesting. This game ended in a draw. It feels like an inception moment. It feels like it's the same game, but it's not really the same game. So this is Rustam, and this was winning for black, but this was not. Wow. Is this transmission directed by Christopher Nolan, or what's happening?
I sure hope so.
Okay.
Adding a twist.
It's the same position, but two different outcomes. Okay. We don't know what this happens, but we are sure our budget doesn't afford the Christopher Nolan as director, so probably some.
He was just busy.
He was just busy directing
exactly
another masterpiece.
And we have a good, amazing production team.
We don't need we are not even hiring any director. We have
definitely not.
Amazing people here already. What else? Under 6.
I want to see. Okay. Can I have a request?
Yeah, of course.
I want to see under 16 opened. Let's see if board number 7 is live. We have Josif Ciocani.
Okay.
Romania playing against the Winter Arthur from Holland.
Okay, this is the position.
Josif is the underdog.
This is the position. The underdog is an exchange up. It's just that this pawn on f4 is closer to a promotion. Yeah, that's a tough move. Okay. I wasn't really thinking about this one.
Yeah, me
hitting the rook and spotting the pawn as well. There is a scenario where the underdog is going to be holding on. Is that he can take on d6, and if somehow black manages to leave this bishop here, so rook d6, pawn to f3, rook f6 takes, you take with the rook, king e3, I can start rolling my pawns on the queen side and sacrifice my rook for f3 pawn, and we know that these two connected pawns against the rook are doing really well. So this is the scenario that Josip needs to take into account. They're under a minute both, and yeah, okay, you have to go rook d6 here, and if let's say black delays this this pawn push and goes bishop e5, you just pin this bishop and you start rolling the pawns. So I think I would say this is winning for white. I'm gonna throw this prediction away because it's so easy to play with those two pawns. You just go a6, b5, and yeah, just give up the rook for a bishop and a pawn, and it's straightforward.
30 more seconds.
Yeah, 30
more seconds
for Josip. He's actually a really good player from Romania. I've heard of him before. Didn't get a chance to play him, but a lot of my colleagues, we have a WhatsApp group of retired chess players, and we know Josif Ciocani is a player we want to avoid when playing this any tournament. Okay, bishop h4 was, and then just go a6 and push the pawns. a6, f3, a7. Okay, he gives a check, which is good as well, but I was hoping to just push the pawn straight away. Check. What else? He goes king f5, then he has some bishop f6 to cover the checks. Yeah, okay, this check is normal, but okay.
Might be just winning. Might be just winning some time, actually.
Yeah, winning some time, but yeah, a6 is the move you have to play as soon as possible, because you might be in a scenario where there's no rook on the f file to actually cover this pawn once the bishop is on f6 and blocks this file. You need enough time in order to give this rook for a pawn. It's not a matter of decision now, it's just a matter of timing. Okay, another check. And king g4. It feels like these checks are actually helping black, and
a bit.
yeah, a lot of
Second
times. Yeah, a lot of times in this type of endgames, you're trying to avoid checks. So maybe let's switch, because there's so many checks. I don't know if they're ever gonna end. But okay, finally he goes a6, and now it's clear that his pawn is quicker for the promotion. And okay, there is this trick, rook a1 going rook a5. Maybe that's the thing that Josip was calculating all the way, sheltering this pawn and blocking the rook. And I think this is a winning strategy as well. There's only bishop f2 to cover this a7
Staying
square.
on the diagonal.
But yeah, I don't think black is in time for this. Okay, let's see any other players. If they're okay, Emma Obada game. We had that game we were watching when she was attacking the king. She made this beautiful bishop d3 move, and black was forced to go rook b4, exchange sacrifice, but don't think there's enough compensation for this. Okay, and she went pawn grabbing, and yeah, another situation where this b2 pawn is more helpful for the white king, providing real shelter. And oh, rook b4. You cannot really take because there's queen b2 checkmate, and rook b4, king c1, trade the queens, and here we are with this position.
Oh, so this is live.
This is live
1
from
minute, 1
Mamaia.
minute.
Yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute. c3 is falling. What to do? King d2. Okay, the trick is that if you take on c3, taking on f6. If you take on c3 with the bishop, king d3, double attack. So smart way of defending.
Yeah.
Wow, we saw a lot of good calculation from
Emma today.
Yeah,
yes.
A lot of good calculation, and
doing this under pressure when you have 1 minute left, I think this is
and this
admirable.
shows some information about her shape. If your calculation is as sharp as hers right now, it feels like you're on the track to have a great tournament. You're not missing anything, you're making the right moves, and yeah, we're happy to see her play such an amazing chess. And yeah, we can still stick to this game, see if black falls for the trap or not. But apart from this trap...
10 seconds left, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's probably a predictable trap. But in terms of the endgame, I feel like this detail that, oh, rook f4, counter trap.
Bold.
Wow, this is nice. If you take, then there's bishop g5 and a pin. Okay, so this is how the modern generation are handling the game. I wasn't even considering this move, so they're always going for the tactical trick. And the strategy behind this is that I want to improve my pawns, so this kind of trade favors me. And I'm also sort of forcing you because you don't want to get your rook to f5 forever. Probably king d3 is the move here.
Exactly, the obvious.
The obvious choice.
What today teaches us is that sometimes the obvious, what we call the obvious choice, is not the best choice. That
yeah, you're trying to surprise the opponent. Surprising the opponent is good, but sometimes the simple solution is the best, because there's always the other side of this coin when you're always looking for surprising moves, trying to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes sticking with the simple choice is good as well. Rook h4, and yeah, I think this endgame is still winning for white. A good plan would be to just push c4, c5 and go with this d pawn. But I'm worried about this opposite colored bishops because it feels like the bishop on f6 is providing a fortress, and right now it's a decision if rook f6 is winning or not. And I think it's a close call, but what I was calculating is takes everything, g4, rook, d6, g3, rook. Okay, this is too dangerous. So this g pawn is
flying too close to the sun.
Too close to the sun. Okay.
But definitely very interesting to watch. Again, under 1 minute on both sides. 25 seconds for Emma, for white.
Yeah, probably rook f6 is not the right decision right now, but maybe a move like c4, rook d4. Okay, this is tough. 14 seconds is tough, and she goes rook f3, which is a good approach, trying to defend the
safe move.
Safe move, trying to defend everything, and yeah, black has to come with the knight to g6. It's too tempting not to, also threatening a fork, and yeah, that's tempting. Knight g6 and knight to e5. Black slowly improving, and at the same time you're kind of missing the momentum for this rook f6 move, but because once the knight is on e5, it feels like you're not in time to deliver the sacrifice. So knight to g6, and yeah, let's see what Emma is trying to play here. Maybe king c2. You have to defend from this. Knight e5, rook f6. Yeah, it just takes everything. Knight e5, and you're not really in time for taking with this d6 pawn. And
what is your prediction for
king c2? Probably king c2 is
for this game.
For this game, it might go both ways actually. There are
ways.
Yeah,
actually.
There are scenarios where white is actually even losing this position because this bishop is not there. It's just zoning out on the queen side, and I can build around that. I can go knight e5, I can go g4, bishop g5, and I'm having a passed pawn supported by 3 of my pieces. While you don't have a passed pawn, your rooks are not really attacking anything, and yeah.
But if I might go c4, c5, then my bishop is going to be
exactly
the best
so
asset.
It's all about when c5 is going to be played, and you need to calculate a lot for this, and only 15 seconds for Emma. I don't know why knight f4 was the move. Knight e5 felt safer, but knight f4 maybe going for this rook h2 stuff. Trying to get some additional tricks in. Okay, rook f2 defending. That's good. Probably bishop e5 is the move here to consolidate. Bishop to e5. Try to go g4, and at some point you can even go bishop d7 and bishop e6. That's bringing the bishop back into the game, and also having a look at this diagonal, because with the bishop on e6, knight can never really take because your e pawn will be too dangerous. Rook goes to h1, maybe going to the other way. Black is still trying to make some threats with the rook and the knight, but it feels like that's
still employing the g pawn.
The g pawn is still there. Yeah, I'd be nervous.
point.
I'd be really nervous as white here.
10
Because
seconds, constantly 10 seconds. So
okay,
a
rook
lot of
f1.
pressure.
So we're already seeing some potential repetition with rook h2, rook h1. Yeah, let's see. Can go with
Is it going
this.
to be a draw?
I'd be happy with draw here with white. I think overpressing is not the optimal strategy, and taking the draw and call it a day would probably be a decent choice.
I think she's...
Okay, she
Yes.
goes for the other rook, so she's not really going for the draw. But I can still force it with rook h3, and cannot really go c4 because rook d3 check and rook c3, I'm picking up the pawn. So she's trying to fight.
Exactly.
But
Do you think
there's-
that black is going for the draw? I think so.
Yeah, black is definitely going for the draw. Is she the rating favorite, Emma?
Yes, Emma is the rating favorite.
Yeah, it's not only that about rating, but black was worse throughout the game, and psychologically speaking, you're happy with just a draw, saying,
Exactly.
okay, the game deserves to be drawn. I was worse throughout, and yeah, that's it.
So, very interesting games. I'm going to let you do the outro for today.
Okay, thanks for watching. We were here in Mamaia for day 3 of the European Youth Chess Championship. Amazing games. We will recap some of them tomorrow. Don't forget we have the puzzle of the day right at the beginning of our streaming. You can check this out. You can send us the solutions and maybe we will select some of you for a special prize. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Maria, for putting up with my jokes.
Always.
We thank the team. And yeah, best wishes, and we're seeing
See you
you tomorrow at the same time. Bye bye.